Not long ago, monsters appeared in this world. The main character was part of the group of hunters fighting on them. All that remains before this long war ends is to defeat it. This was the queen of all monsters. It was she who plunged the world into darkness and took the lives of many people. Since she rules over all monsters, she is considered the strongest. The main character Arden was not sure that he could defeat her. Before he could make a strike, the queen of monsters flew at him. Then there was a bright flash across the entire earth. The representative of the dead soul race begged the queen to lose. Seeing him, the protagonist realized that he would not be able to do this. His end was too near. The representative of the ancient dragons announced the hero's defeat. But the main character did not give up. He still had the strength to make one more strike. When he struck, the queen parried it with only her hand. At the same time, she released a giant ball at him. The representatives of the races observed this and believed that the hero was different from them in strength. The queen's blow pierced the rock. She threw the young man into this crack in the rock. The death of the main character was visible in her eyes. He didn't have a single chance to escape. And all this is the work of this fragile queen of monsters. But the young man was still able to stay on the rock and strike the queen. When she felt this, she became completely furious. She released her claws and pierced the hero's body. The representatives of the races felt that she had acted incorrectly. They believed that she needed to know her place and live in silence. Despite the blood, the hero continued to fight. Then the queen prepared another powerful ball for him. A real battle between two strong personalities began. At some point, the earth again experienced a bright flash. Helen, a representative of the fairy race, asked for Arden to survive. She watched the battle from the other world, since she had already died. Not long ago, she was killed by this same queen. And so the queen struck the hero and tore off his arm. This time, these are definitely the final blows. In a couple of minutes, the main character will die, and the battle will end. For now, he tries to protect himself with his only hand. He was able to cause serious damage to the queen. All these characters from the dead world were just Arden's memories. It was a sign that he would soon join them. His strength gave out and he soon died. The queen threw him off the cliff and ended the battle with victory. The protagonist returns to those who were with him in this battle. Another day came. A young man approached Arden Kirith on the battlefield. He asked the young man not to be daydreaming, but to get down to business. They had too little time to return to base. It turned out that this was a completely different story. One day monsters appeared in this world too. The hunters woke up, gained dexterity, and began to hunt them. The picture is very different from what happened in Kirith's past life. In this world, he has no strength at all to fight. His team needs help clearing dungeons time after time. From a conversation with the young man, Kirith learned that they had a captain. Captain Koman was the leader of the assault team in the Brave Guild. Each time he ordered his subordinates to fight until the very end. Kirith is barely able to beat the monsters of even the easiest dungeon. Kirith was reborn into a new body after that sinister war. Every morning he worked on himself during morning training. He will soon be able to unlock his hunting potential. An awakened hunter is considered to be one who is able to realize his or her full potential. Despite the fact that the memory of the past life is preserved, the hero cannot use it. His body and mind remember every detail. However, even if Kirith remembers this, the body cannot use it. He was too used to his past life to start a new one. In the world of hunters, power is determined by status. If Kirith continues to train, all his efforts will be for nothing. He began to take a regular stick, and with this, he began his daily training. He swung left and right to try and get some results. He doesn't want to forget that battle, even if he is the only one to survive it. During training, he was distracted by a strange voice. It was the same old friend Ren. He was embarrassed that Kirith trained every day. He doesn't like that his friend is constantly tired, without any emotion on his face. Since Kirith trained in the park, he was always watched by strangers. A friend suggested that Kirith find a better place. He realized that Kirith wanted to become one of the hunters. Kirith agreed with this, and said that he wanted to make a lot of money from this. In this world, everyone wants to become a hunter whose salary is several times higher than usual. All hunters can face the unknown. The world really needs people like this. Ren believed that his friend would succeed after hard training. He informed Kirith that the dungeon clearing schedule would be released tomorrow. This time, the hunters will defend the Rymar Labyrinth dungeon. In the morning, the captain sent his subordinates details of the dungeon by email. He mentioned that it was a dangerous place even among C-rank dungeons. One guild already went there and returned in very bad condition. Captain Koman's subordinates were only of D rank. He reminded them that they were not hunters, but simply carrying out his orders for money. Many guys who considered themselves young hunters were afraid to go into this dungeon. The captain warned them that if they left the team, they would not be able to work anywhere else. He had long ago entered into a contract with his subordinates that could not be broken. The hero regretted that he could not go on a cleanup mission due to lack of strength. The captain pounced on him, but Ren abruptly offered his candidacy. He was also not confident in himself, but was ready to stand up for his friend. All the participants in the dungeon believed that they would be safe next to real hunters. Captain Koman knew that none of them would return alive. He told them to go to work and promised that he would wait for them with faith. None of the young men believed in the sincerity of these words. The protagonist nevertheless agreed to go into the dungeon with Ren. The next day, a huge portal was created near the gorge. The hunters decided to warm up before the start of a tough battle. Their team leader assigned all the roles. He looked too worried, and this frightened Kirit even more. Kirit suggested that the hunters were also forced to go along with this cleanup. The captain ordered the young assistants not to get in their way. Ren announced optimistically that they would soon enter the portal. His entire team was determined. Only the main character could not find the necessary strength within himself. He hoped that future steps would not lead him to death. And so he stepped into the portal, and the clearing of the dungeon began. As soon as the hunters entered the labyrinth of Rymar, they felt a tremor. Everything looked different from what I had heard. The magicians wanted to report the persistent alarm to the captain. What stopped them was that it was a C-rank dungeon, meaning it wouldn't be difficult. Kirit and Ren noticed the excitement of the experienced hunters. The dungeon began to crumble, creating additional anxiety. The hunters quickly began preparing to clear the area. Captain Coleman tried not to show his inner feelings. Suddenly, a pair of monster eyes appeared from the darkness. Within seconds, there were about 20 pairs of these eyes. These were specimens of an ugly, dangerous spider. The captain ordered the experienced hunters to prepare for battle. From the very beginning, the situation seemed too difficult for them. Coleman promised his subordinates a good salary for the victory. Although there were many monsters, they only looked like pathetic bugs. The captain ordered the tanks to form the first line of attack. No one was afraid to go into battle, as the challenge rank was sea level. They didn't expect any trickery. The newcomers decided that they would ensure the hunters at the exit. Suddenly, the monsters began to make a strange sound. Poisonous mucus burst from their mouths. After this, the monsters seemed to go wild. The tanks clearly couldn't cope with them. Reserve tanks rushed to reinforce them. These tanks were able to destroy several individuals with fire. The young hunters protected themselves as best they could. Coleman was angry that not all the hunters took part in the raid. After the spiders were destroyed, another monster came out. This was the mid-boss of Rymar's labyrinth, Gallus. In the fight against this boss, every participant was for himself. Gallus' actions broke the team's cohesion. He was much stronger than all the hunters together. His surprise attacks caused damage to the tanks. By this time, the magicians had already completed their preparations. They struck several precise blows at Gallus. The monster was completely covered in flames. It seemed that the boss had been defeated. Kumon ordered the hunters to collect all the valuable items. One of them pounced on Gallus's body to smash it into pieces. But suddenly Gallus rose to his feet and was covered in energy. He spat out an even more poisonous liquid from his mouth. This poison is too dangerous for hunters. He completely dissolved one of them, leaving only the sword. The captain ordered the front ranks to retreat, because even the fumes from the poison were dangerous. Hunters were required to know about these things before entering the dungeon. Kiritou felt like something was definitely wrong here. Even Koman seemed to shudder. He ordered the hunters to gag Gallus to stop the flow of poison. The captain himself decided to deal with the monster alone. He prepared a powerful weapon and attacked Gallus. It was clear that this attack would not harm the lizard, but suddenly Gallus's head flew to the side. This is what the hunters expected from their commander. The captain asked them to examine the wounded and check the supplies. The shadow of a huge raven appeared next to the hunters. All participants were excited by this turn of events. Kirit understands that the experienced fighters were not prepared for this. They just defeated a mid-level boss. Now the boss of the entire dungeon came out to them. The hunters did not know how to kill this bird. The captain ordered them to form up and stand in attack until death. The bird did not attack, but simply released its feathers. The captain injected himself with the antidote and asked his assistants to do the same. If the feathers touch a person, he will lose his mind. One feather touched the experienced hunter. His eyes immediately showed the infection. Many of the participants started to run away, and the captain accused them of treason. The feathers touched many of them. The hunters went crazy and wanted to leave the dungeon as soon as possible. Captain Koman announced to them that this was not a C-rank dungeon. Kirit decided to run away before the boss got too angry. He proposed this idea to Ren and wanted to take the newcomers with him. Ren refused to leave the battlefield. He wanted to collect all the items left behind by deceased players. Everything here costs a lot of money. Even a hunter's sword costs more than 200 million. Ren has clearly lost his mind. Kirit tried to bring him to his senses, but Ren pushed Ren away from him. He grabbed the expensive weapon and rushed at Kirit. The first blood appeared immediately after this. Ren stood over the prone Kirit. He told him not to stand in his way. He wanted to take all these things for himself before he left. Luckily, the main character was alive. Ren explained to him that he needed money for his little sister. His sister is sick and this money will help her get better. Kirit listened to his worries and asked him to calm down. Ren abruptly released the sword towards him. The sword flew past and hit the ground. That blood came from the wound on Kirit's palm. The hero promised Ren that he would definitely see his sister if he left now. Ren realized that he had done well with his friend. He completely recovered from his loss of sanity. He agreed to leave the dungeon with Kirit, but suddenly he fell into a stupor. The protagonist thought that the bird had affected him again. But Ren jumped back sharply and growled. Scarlet blood spurted out after him. Ren's entire body was completely covered in blood. The main character did not understand what had happened. He tried to bring Ren to his senses. Before he died, he whispered that he was glad that Kirit was okay. It turned out that he was killed by Captain Komen, who had lost his mind. The feather got stuck on his shoulder, and the captain could not be brought to his senses. Kirit immediately remembered how he once saw his friend die, and now, before his eyes, his close friend was killed. It was a shame for Ren, because he had a little sister left. Kirit heard for the first time why Ren became a hunter. He wanted to be one of the best hunters to make a fortune. In fact, Ren died while covering for Kirit. The protagonist decided to deal with the captain here and now. Komen wasn't afraid because he was facing a complete loser. It was important to Kirit too that the C-rank hunter was killed by his hands. This will be a just revenge for the death of a friend. So the dungeon clearing failed. Many participants died because of the magic feathers. The team disintegrated, and the hunters were destroyed. At the end of the battle, the pen also touched Lord Komen. He immediately apologized to everyone and believed that the mistake was not on his side. He blamed everything on the trash that got in the way under his feet. His young students hindered him at every step. Komen considered that they had no right to exist. He personally made sure they paid him for the loss. He cut their bodies blow by blow. Due to the loss of his mind, he was not fully aware of his actions. He saw the defenseless Kirit and Ren. Komen immediately decided that he would kill Kirit at any cost. He had long held a grudge against him because of Kirit's uselessness. But Ren jumped out and stood up to defend his friend. He received a fatal blow from his commander. Komen liked this guy's courage. But still, his goal was precisely Kirit. The main character and the captain decided to even the score. Komen didn't want this fight because of the big difference in status. He saw no point in this, since Kirit had not yet awakened. He lunged towards the hero, but the young man disappeared from his sight. Kirit made a good maneuver, deceiving the captain. He went around him from behind and attacked. Komen managed to put up a shield to avoid death. The main character did not forget that in front of him was a man who had lost his mind. He needs to be as careful as possible with such a powerful person. Besides his madness, Captain Komen has some good abilities and skills. The dungeon boss did not interfere in this fight and watched from the side. His presence made it difficult for Kirit to concentrate on the captain. Some of the hero's attacks were quite unsuccessful. In this battle, someone will definitely die. Kirit hoped it wouldn't be him. Despite his weak skills, he did not give in to the captain. But one of Komen's attacks threw the main character into the wall. The hero's brain tells him to dodge attacks, but his body doesn't obey. Kiritsu was upset that he couldn't use the power from his past life. The captain praised him for his good movements. He didn't understand how such a scumbag could wield a weapon so skillfully. The captain became worried when he realized that the situation was not so predictable. He allowed the thought that he could lose to this loser. To protect himself, Komen released a special energy. This energy swirled around the main character. Kirit maneuvered carefully and did not get in her way. Soon a powerful explosion occurred in the dungeon. The explosion distracted the captain and he missed the blow. Kirit was able to cut him on the neck and draw blood. If the hero continues in the same spirit, he will clearly win. Within minutes, the captain's body was completely covered in blood. The young man only had to deliver the final blows. Captain Komen found the strength in himself and flew back. He didn't understand how he could lose to an inexperienced hunter. Before this, he considered Kirit to be ordinary trash. It is this garbage that will kill him now. With the last of his strength, the captain used body strengthening and acceleration. His serious attack did not frighten the protagonist at all. Kirit noticed that Komen had used up all his abilities and had lost his mana. It was easy for the young man to predict the direction of his movements. He easily dodged any attack. After each attack, he dealt a good blow to the captain, and so Komen's only weapon broke. Soon, Kirit chopped off several of his limbs. The captain began to beg him for mercy. The main character didn't feel sorry for him. He believed that this man deserved to die for killing innocent people. Kirit also noticed that Komen had regained his sanity. The fact that the captain was under the influence does not excuse him. He killed an entire army of hunters with his own hands. The protagonist announced his death to him. With this, he dealt the final blow. Captain Komen's head flew off to the side. After this, Kirit looked around the area and saw that everyone was dead. He hadn't seen so many corpses in the last few years of his past life. After killing the captain, the hero felt a magical power. He assumed that this was because he was thinking about a past life. Most likely, this is that very awakening. Kirit felt the magical power as soon as he touched the sword. Kirit's level has increased to 6th. His ability is called Execute Heretics. She absorbs the karma of heretics and turns it into power. The hero immediately remembered the dead Ren. It was Ren who really needed this. He lost his chances, and the loser Kirit woke up in his place. Now the hero needs to deal with that dangerous bird. He hoped that he would be able to overcome her. On the battlefield, he absorbed 1 magic coefficient. Now he has a difference of only 1 coefficient with the bird. Kirit doesn't think his powers are the same anymore. He still didn't understand how mana worked. Here you can release it without any control. The dungeon boss rushed at Kirit. The basic use of mana is similar to throwing. It strengthens Kirit's body with fragile control. It finds vulnerable spots to find an unprotected place to strike. This is the way the hero wants to defeat this bird. He prepared himself carefully and made the first attack. The sword flew straight towards the boss. It was a shame because he flew past at a tangent. The dungeon boss was injured, but only slightly. With this attack, the protagonist lost one of his 2 swords. He can't make that mistake again. He grabbed the remaining weapon more tightly and pounced on the bird. This attack helped him deal serious damage. The dungeon boss lost one of his wings. He was furious and wanted to finish with this loser as soon as possible. The main character collected all the mana in his body. He wanted to make the mana explode in his favor. As expected, an explosion occurred on the battlefield. After this, Kirit went into close combat. With just 1 blow, he cut the bird in half. So he single-handedly defeated the boss challenge. After killing the bird, he received a small amount of mana. Kirit didn't understand how an army of hunters couldn't deal with this boss. He, a newly awakened hunter, defeated this boss alone. But from old memory, he thought that the battle was not over yet. He remembered the monsters that were sent by the queen. They came to destroy this world. The 9 races of the continent set out to meet the unknown enemy face to face. They met him after going through many terrible battles. In the end, after all the fighting, they finally won. During the victory celebration, the hero heard the voice of the Queen of Monsters. He asked his friend Helen to hide immediately. But instead of Helen's face, there was the face of a queen, or an evil spirit. She accused the hero that everything happened only because of his fault. This moment remained forever in the memory of the main character. A few days later, he came to his senses. It was all a terrible dream. After the boss fight, he lost consciousness and fell into a coma. He slept for 3 days and never came to his senses. A respectable man was on duty next to him. He handed the hero a business card in which the name Temur was mentioned. Kirit asked him what had happened to everyone else. Temur liked that after the coma, the hero first of all remembers his comrades. He said that the armed brigade of the Brave Guild was completely destroyed. When paramedics arrived at the scene, they found only Kirit, who had survived. Kiritu was curious about what happened to the man named Renegawa. The funeral of those who died in the dungeon took place while Kirit was in a coma. After these events, the labyrinth was classified as rank B. The protagonist believed that Captain Koman was simply unlucky with this raid. Timur Khan announced that Koman had a lot of debts due to gambling. So he went into the dungeon, despite knowing that it was too difficult. Perhaps he was not aware of all the changes in this dungeon. This gentleman's team is still investigating anomalous phenomena in the dungeons. Timur left Kirit alone and asked him to remember the details of that raid. The main character was left alone and thought for a long time about his deceased friend, Death. He was worried about Ren's death and Koman's disgusting excuse for going on a purge. To distract himself, the young man turned on the news. The news reported an introduction to a rather famous person. An SS rank hunter nicknamed Odin's Justice appeared on the screen. Loki Sora was the best hunter in all of Japan. Upon awakening, she gained 4 abilities. Kirit immediately tested his abilities. He assumed he woke up when Koman died. He began to search for information about the execution of the executioners, but found nothing. He doesn't even have anyone to test his new ability on. If there was an executioner nearby, the ability could be tested in action. Kirit regretted that he was no longer in his past life. But even in this world, he develops hidden abilities. After a few days, the medical examinations were completed. Kirita was discharged from the hospital to go home. After some training, he created a portal to the dungeon. Now he is not like hunters who cannot use their powers to the fullest. Kirit himself is slowly beginning to understand the relationship between mana and abilities. He went to that very dungeon with the labyrinth. The hero wanted to prove to himself that he was capable of overcoming it alone. Due to killing Koman, he awakened and accumulated some mana. He got a chance to correct the mistakes of his past life. He vowed that the tragedy would not happen to him again in this life. And then, from the darkness, several eyes of terrible spiders looked at him. Kiritu needs to overcome everyone to prove his strength. He made this task a top priority. He swung his sword and energy followed him. A couple of days later, several patients were admitted to the same hospital. There was a girl with a rare disease in this hospital. One of the nurses was glad that their hospital had a filtration cube. The sick girl apologized to the doctors for coming without her parents. Her name was Igawa Mary. She already knows what happened to her brother. Igawa Mary has a severe allergy to mana. Due to the appearance of gates all over the world, they began to fill the atmosphere with mana. Because of this, a new disease has appeared that takes the patient's life. This disease is considered incurable. Currently, in hospitals, it is only possible to suppress symptoms with a filtration cube. Igawa Mary suffered from this disease since childhood. A few years ago, during her free time in the hospital, she watched the news about Loki Sora. Loki Sora was the best hunter in Japan. The ratings of the footage from her battles are breaking all records. Igawa Mary was clearly interested in this character. When she watched this story in the past, brother Ren was next to her. Ren wanted to awaken and become like Loki. In the future, he planned to join her guild. His sister always supported him in this endeavor. But several years passed, and Igawa Mary was still here, but completely alone. She decided to fulfill her brother's dream and become like Loki. She felt hurt that she had been nothing but a burden to Ren all her life. She left the room and a nurse came up to her for support. The doctor announced that before leaving, her brother had definitely prepared a gift for Mary. But at that moment their conversation was interrupted by the blood moon. She was too big and appeared in broad daylight. Seeing her, some patients started running. They told Mary and the nurse to hide in the shelter. This moon is called the Disaster of Schism. The patients received a message from the Hunters Association and ran for cover. But the girls found this strange, because they didn't see any monsters. Suddenly the window broke, and a giant's hand appeared next to Mary. This was clearly the appearance of a monster. The girls looked up and saw the three-eyed gold. The nurse asked Mary to run away immediately. The young girl fell into a stupor and could not make a single movement. She was afraid that she would fall into the hands of this powerful monster. The nurse did everything to bring the girl back to her senses. She hoped that the Hunters Association would arrive soon to help. Mary pushed her and wanted to buy some time for her. She didn't want anyone else to sacrifice their life for her again. The nurse realizes that she will not be able to save Mary. The girl was a few meters away from the giant's hands. She had no idea that the brave Kirit was flying to her aid. Kirit saved her and asked her to think about her family. He said that he came here instead of Ren. Mary learned that Ren sacrificed his life for Kirit. She still couldn't believe that her brother was dead. She perceived this situation as a gift from her beloved Ren. Meanwhile, a high-ranking dungeon was being cleared. In the desert of Lorthalemia, Loki Sora was in the company of other guilds. She knew that she could defeat any monster. She changed her skills one after another. One of the most dangerous monsters was defeated in a minute. Loki Sora simply cut him in half. Suddenly, new monsters formed from the halves of the monster. Loki Sora realizes that this monster can be infinite. However, this did not stop her at all. She destroyed the active part of the monster. Kaido and Bara from other guilds wanted to cooperate with Loki. They knew they wouldn't be able to do it because Loki had an inflated sense of self-worth. She hasn't invited hunters to her guild for a long time. In her guild, she is considered the only SS rank hunter. This rank is the highest not only in the guild, but in all of Japan. Now she was surrounded by about 6 identical monsters. The girl accepted this threat with ease. For her, this cleanup was like a regular training session. But suddenly Loki disappeared from the sight of other guilds. At that moment, the dungeon boss appeared. Kaido decided it was time for them to engage in battle. But Loki forbade him to get involved, as she wants to end up alone. She initially intended to deal with the boss alone, so she wanted to show other guilds her abilities. The desert boss was not a terrible opponent for her. Loki released mana from himself in the form of electrical lightning. This lightning penetrated the boss's body and destroyed him. The boss fell to the ground, and the dungeon clearing was complete. Loki Sora dealt him a few blows, just in case. In fact, she didn't see any point in her actions. She already has a fairly high level of ability. The other guilds were uneasy that they didn't even interfere with her work. This is why Loki Sora is considered the best hunter. Suddenly, that bloody rift moon appeared in the sky. The alarmed guild members decided to turn back. The boss had already been eliminated, and it was unclear why the rift had occurred. The rift revealed the core of the dungeon. This means that soon more monsters will appear on Earth. It was an anomaly, as the core appeared in the very depths of the dungeon. This time, it suddenly appeared at the entrance to the dungeon. Kaido attempted to shoot at the center of the core. He hoped that his shot would not be interrupted by the moon's energy. The distance to the target was 12 kilometers. The maximum firing range of the weapon is 7 kilometers. This core was too far away, and ranged attacks were useless here. Suddenly, the core of the rift released energy from itself. An agitated Loki Sora suggested that her comrades change location. She was sure that a new rift would soon occur. A gate to another dimension appeared before the heroes. Loki has already contacted the guild and asked her comrades for a rescue operation. Until the team arrived, she wanted to deal with this phenomenon alone. She stated that she would soon bring this moon down to Earth. This phenomenon has already been reported on the news. Judging by the consequences, the rift formed in a dungeon of at least rank A difficulty. Typically, a rift is more complex than the dungeon it appears in. Soon people will see the warriors who protect this core. The main character was worried that Mary would encounter these monsters. Despite the presence of Mana, the girl felt calm. From Kirit she learned that he worked with her brother. She was sure Ren had described her as a burden. Kirit explained to her that Ren hadn't said a word about it. Mary cried when she learned that Ren always thought only good things about her. She always felt that she was an obstacle to her brother's normal life. Kirit suggested continuing the conversation after he destroyed the rift. Meanwhile, hundreds of buildings were burning on the ground. Monsters emerged from the flames of fire. The protagonist left the hospital and rushed to fight them. Over the past few days, he had come to one conclusion. Kirit now knows that there is no point in leveling up skills other than mana. Physical attack and flexibility have a high chance of winning, but a low maximum. Therefore, the hero will devote all his future time to developing mana. It is mana that will help him win more than one battle. He had previously approached the hunter to test the effect of a physical attack. After talking to a hunter who had developed physical attack, Kirit understood the difference. Physical reached the level of his past life, and so the hero rushed at one of the largest monsters. He had 30 mana points in reserve. This helped him to fly high up. He planned to fly to the rift to destroy it. This way he will stop the appearance of new monsters on Earth. He had only one sword in his arsenal. He launched the sword into the rift and hoped that it would reach its destination. He himself lost mana and began to fall. He didn't care about himself, because the main thing was that the sword reached the rift. When he landed hard, he realized it hadn't worked. His level was not high enough, or it reached the rift. When he landed hard, he realized it hadn't worked. His level was not high enough, but suddenly he saw an explosion in the distance. A couple of minutes ago, Loki Sora also tried to overcome the rift. She used the ability of Thunder Lightning, Thunder and Light Rain. The combination of these skills would help her overcome the rift. She lunged towards the moon. There was a bright explosion with a surge of energy. Loki Sora realized it had worked, but the moon did not disappear, but split in half. Loki Sora noticed another core. Most likely the lunar shell served as a protector for the cores. Now the rift moon has become truly bloody. Loki Sora made every attempt to destroy her. As she concentrated the thunderbolt, the moon released its energy onto her. From the outside it was clear that even the experienced Loki couldn't handle this flow. The protagonist rushed to her aid and pushed her away by the waist. He explained to her that now many lives depended only on her. He decided to help her and directed her mana. The girl did not understand how this young man was able to change the flow of her mana. Within a second, mana filled her entire body. Previously, the girl thought that she had used up all the supplies she had before the battle. At that moment she realized that the guy was on her side. The hero suggested that they destroy this thing with joint efforts. They created a powerful flow that was directed towards the fault. Oddly enough, this time everything worked out. The girl calmed down, but Kirit announced that this was not the end. The core of the rift was still alive. At any moment it can release a stream of monsters from itself. Kirit suggested hitting the core again. Loki Quarrel could no longer do this due to the mana limit. The heroes can only wait for their energy to replenish. Kirit took charge and asked Loki to launch him upward. The girl just needs to repeat something like the attack that happened just now. Loki had no time to think, so she did what was required. A second later, Kirit was flying towards the rift. He hoped he had enough mana to make the attack. As he flew closer, 5 mana points were added to his reserve. From such a short distance he launched the sword. This time the sword will definitely reach the rift. As expected, the sword flew straight into the center of the core. There was a major explosion with a release of energy. Loki Sora didn't expect that anyone could do the impossible. She still didn't know what kind of strange guy had gotten involved in her company. She was grateful to him that the rift was destroyed. Along with the destruction of the rift, the hero increased his level. He also gained a new ability. Now all he had to do was land safely on the ground. Loki Sora wanted to help him, but it was too late. She wondered if there might be other SS rank hunters besides her. The next day, the news reported that the fault was of complexity C. People were grateful to Loki, who was able to destroy him. The girl announced that she was helped by a strange guy who disappeared after the destruction of the rift. Mary, who was watching the news, realized that this guy was Kirit. The protagonist didn't want her to know the truth. He simply announced that he had recently had an awakening. Mary suggested that he become a hunter and first pass the exams. She believed that he would pass, despite the low level. She wanted her loved one to become a great hunter, at least this time. Kirit became her brother Ren's replacement. The hero agreed to take the exam, but he knew that nothing would change. A few days later, the hunter's exam began. Some participants came here just to make a good video. One of these people distracted a stranger. This man was named Yabuki Godu, who awakened with 3 abilities. He came to the exam to get first place. Upon seeing him, Kirit realized that he could not control his mana. He has a maximum rank of A. Soon, Loki Sora came to the examinees. She hoped that on this bright day, everyone would show their true abilities. Many of the participants had never seen her in person, and were delighted. They all rushed towards her, forgetting about preparing for battle. The main character wanted to avoid meeting her. If he appears before her eyes, she will definitely recognize him. In fact, Loki came here not as an examiner, but as a guest. A few days ago, her guildmaster announced that this rift originated from the Lothalimia desert. The guild owner's name was Ohara Junoke. Because the guild was absent during the rift, people assumed it was a show for Loki. It is obvious that the next exam will be the president of the Japanese Association. If Loki takes part in it, he will be able to regain the trust of both the people and the authorities. Soon she announced that the exam was beginning. The events were broadcast live on all television channels. There were about 100 participants. The main character climbed a tree to wait here for a while, but suddenly he felt a flow of mana. The stream is weak, but it is obvious that it is someone from his past. The president of the Japanese Hunters Association arrived for the exam. Loki informed President Kenzu that Yabuki Godu could become the hunter. She knew he had awakened with 3 abilities. The president recalled that the person who stopped the rift in Japan was below the rank of C. He believed that this man should become the first. He told Loki that guy number 240 had good potential. Opening the participant's form, Loki saw that same guy. She learned for the first time that her companion's name was Kiritani, and that he was 20 years old. She couldn't believe her eyes that he had just woken up. The hero sat on a tree and observed the situation. Many participants created a dispute due to their strong abilities. Kishida announced that his grandfather had invested a lot of money in him. Yabuki Godu mocked him for only having 1 ability. In the midst of the argument, Kirit came down from the tree. Yabuki asked him to leave the place and not interfere with his conversation with people. The young man announced that he would listen to his advice and leave this place. But along with this, he will also take that guy Kishida Shin with him. All the participants rushed after Kishida and Kirit. Holding Kishida, Kirit fought off his pursuers. He managed to fight back with only 1 leg. Kishido didn't have the courage to ask Kirit why he took him. The main character told him several facts from his past life. He tried to find out that this man belonged to his past. He recognized him and immediately told him about his abilities. Kishida decided to trust him, because there was no time to think. They hid behind a rock and continued their conversation about their grandfather's ability. Kishida may be the key to Kirita's past. Kirit offered him to be his assistant, but he had no such desire. He just wanted someone older to take care of him and protect him from Yabuki. The hero knew that Kishido's grandfather had the same ability, but he knew him by his Korean name. Kishida claimed that his grandfather was purebred Japanese. It looked like this guy had nothing to do with Kirit's past life. Kishida revealed that Yabuki constantly bullied the weak after awakening. He was never his equal in terms of sheer number of abilities. Suddenly, this conversation was interrupted by a break in the stone. Kirit declared that he never used his abilities. Kishida believed that ability determined rank. Now he wanted Kirit to teach him how to use only mana. In this case, Kirit has 1 condition. Yabuki arrived to them with his comrades. Kirit asked Kishida to play this fight alone. Yabuki noticed that his classmate's personality had changed greatly. He consoled himself with the thought that he was just a loser with 1 ability. Only the main character knew that the outcome was already predetermined. It all seems like a waste of time to him. He explained to Kishida that he had to win with just mana. Yabuki knew that his 3 abilities would be enough for this fight, and so Kishida was the first to attack him. Yabuki created a protective shell in time and avoided damage. His shield had a certain peculiarity. If the mana shield is attacked, it will activate the mana burst ability. Kishido felt too hot from the explosion of energy. In this fight, Kirit noticed Kishida's mistakes. He asked him not to keep the same distance in the future. For a few more days, Kishida trained under the influence of his mentor. He learned to use a spear, on which he concentrated his mana. He soon rose to the rank of B. He learned to strike directly at the center of the enemy's weak spot. Their fight with Yabuki had been going on for several days now, and was not producing any results. And then Kishida's magical spear pierced the protective shell. Yabuki's shield broke into many pieces. Yabuki didn't expect his ability to be defeated. Kishida's next blow landed on Yabuki himself. Yabuki was thrown back a few meters and took damage. Kishida immediately caught up with him and delivered another blow. It looks like Yabuki was finished. Kishida himself did not expect that he would defeat such a strong participant on his own. He defeated him before he could even use all of his abilities. He was grateful that Kirith had taught him how to work with mana. It was important to Kishida to divide Yabuki's items equally. The main character was not against doing this. After thinking for a bit, The young man took 80% of the spoils for himself. Kushida didn't like this, but they had discussed this issue beforehand. Kirit will take a portion of his income as tuition fees. After this, Kirit suggested that Kushida take up hunting until the end of the exam. The young man knew that only his mentor could kill all the monsters. Before leaving, Kirit wrote down Kushida's phone number. He asked the young man to keep their deal a secret. Kirit stepped into the portal with a calm soul. He passed the exam and was the best among all the participants. After taking the exam, he met Loki Sora on the street. The girl clearly hid her appearance from prying eyes. The main character pretended not to recognize her and wanted to leave as quickly as possible. The girl told him that she did not expect him to win against all the participants. Moreover, he left the exam using the back entrance portal. She suggested that Kirit go shopping. She bought him some fashionable things at the store. In addition, she purchased items to restore stamina. All these things were of the highest quality. It seemed to the hero that Loki simply wanted to bribe him. Loki explained that this was all a reward for helping fight the rift. The hero understood that she would invite him to join her guild. The girl really believed that by shopping she could win Kirit over. The main character pretended not to pay any attention to her. After the store, they went out together. In the elevator, Loki Sora invited Kiritou to join her guild. She promised that he would be treated the same way as she was, but the young man abruptly refused without giving a reason. The girl wanted to once again feel the strength that she had gained in that battle. She wanted to achieve even greater heights. She wants to become stronger to attract the attention of big people. Despite the refusal, the main character agreed to work with her. He was also curious about what Japan's first hunter would become. Soon, she and Loki arrived at her personal training room. Loki immediately announced that she would not use mana in this training. She was ready to show the hero all her abilities. And so the conversation ended, and the girl was already flying towards Kiritani. The hero used only mana to protect himself from attacks. The girl didn't understand how he managed to repel her attacks with such ease. Kirit realized that she wasn't very good at controlling mana. The girl splits the mana, and the fight turns into a parade of brute force. The hero found it very interesting to conduct training with her, and so Loki created another of her abilities. She lunged at Kirit and cut off part of his cloak. The hero made a counterattack that Loki did not expect. The sword almost reached her chest. The main character was afraid that he would pierce the girl, but suddenly he saw that the accumulation of mana was in Loki's chest. It was precisely this place that the hero's sword could not penetrate. Kirit declared that he was only an F-rank hunter. It was clear to both heroes that this training would not end so quickly. The girl hoped that Kirit would give in to her and surrender. The young man declared that he would not be able to hold back as he had used up all his mana. For this training he received 70 mana points. It looked like Loki wouldn't let him get too close today. The hero needs to find a way to bypass her defenses. Suddenly he managed to grab her electrified lightning with his bare hands. Looking at this, Loki realized that there was a strong person in front of her. Loki saw that Kirit was too strong for his level. She watched his every action. Kirit showed her the technique she taught him in his past life. It turned out that in a past life he had already known Loki. At the conference, Loki revealed that she had received 4 abilities at once. Even then, she was not the first person in Japan. She was forced to continue what she had started and reach greater heights. After the conference, she asked the driver to take her to the next dungeon. He was alarmed that she had been going out on missions for 3 days in a row. Loki agreed and took the day off for today. Suddenly she heard someone mocking the weak. They were ordinary school children. Loki thought she knew the victim's voice. In this crowd she saw her younger self. Then Loki realized that she shouldn't rest today. She asked the driver to take her to the fault. She remembered that moment when she fought with Kirit. The hero saw that it was too heavy for her to carry the honor of the entire country on her shoulders. Loki cried when she realized that it wasn't she who decided to carry everything on her shoulders. Then at the conference, she seemed to be forced to defend the country. Now Japan's best hunter asks Kirita for lessons. The main character was not averse to revealing the secrets of his strength. A few days later, Kirit continued training with Kushida. This time the young man had to fight the monster alone. After his last victory, he was very confident. Today's opponent was a goblin. Kushida killed this goblin with ease. He was proud that he was able to clear the entire area. It seemed to him that he had seen this place before. Kirit gave him a shield and declared that he would be a tank. He gives him a role that suits his abilities. Having accepted the role, Kushida went into battle. The main character was glad that this guy had a certain talent. He has broken off relations with Loki, so he can focus on gathering information about his past life. Suddenly Kushida screamed and his whole body shook. He was frightened by seeing the skeleton of a hunter. After examining the body, Kirit realized that the hunter had died not so long ago. The mana in him was barely noticeable, but the young man still felt its remnants. There were hundreds of such corpses in this dungeon. Kushida realized that the dungeon monster was stronger than they thought. Kirit guessed that these murders were not the work of a monster. All the bodies lay flat, as if they had been killed by a person. First, they killed the most problematic participant, and then they took on the attacker and the tank. It was all the work of another hunter. Moving further, the heroes discovered household items. It looked like someone's camp. Now Kirit was sure that those murders were committed by people. Traces of their mana are still clearly visible. Kushida was worried that they would meet these terrible people. The main character calmed him down, because he considered himself the strongest. He finally remembered his worthless ability. The situation with the killers will help him use the executioner's execution. After returning from the dungeon, Kirit reported on the corpses he had found. The leader of the burial team was Temur. He immediately noticed that Kirit had changed, and had probably undergone an awakening. He realized he had awakened just by looking at Kirit. Temur asked the young man to discuss the murder with the authorized representative. He called the major and left for important business. The investigation learned that the first witnesses to the murder were Kirit and Kushida. The major of the Hunter Control Department introduced herself as Kara. She began questioning witnesses to the terrible crime. Incidents like this never happen in E-rank dungeons. Just in case, Kirit took this girl's business card. He noticed that he had already seen the sign of this company in a past life. Kara left and asked Kirit to let her know if he remembered anything important. She was like hunters who hunt other hunters. Kushida suggested to Kirit too that they finish what they had started long ago. But the main character decided to rest today. By evening, he headed to the city of Omiya. He walked around the city to fully understand his thoughts. Suddenly, he noticed a stream of bright energy. He realized that the killer was hiding in a crowded place. He followed the flow of his mana and arrived at one of the inns. He also became aware of the room where this energy was hidden. The door was closed, and Kirit had to break it down with his sword. He was excited that the energy had led him this way. When he opened the door, he saw a stream of aura flying out the window. She flew from window to window, and from house to house. The protagonist immediately followed her. Only on the roof of the house did he see that it was not energy, but a person. After a couple of minutes, he managed to get closer to the object. The captured young man was afraid that people from the association or the army had come for him. Kirit suggested that he surrender to ease his fate. Unfortunately, that guy wasn't going to give up and grabbed his weapon. He announced that he would now get rid of the pursuer. He lunged at Kirit, who had a couple of seconds to react. The young man was confident that he was much stronger than this pursuer. He lunged forward and wanted to kill Kirit with just one blow. The protagonist made a maneuver and gained control of the situation. He threw the guy to the ground and broke his arm. It turned out that this guy's energy was similar to the energy of a dungeon. During interrogation, the young man confessed that he had killed those people. He just decided to get rid of a couple of losers. He was sure that Kirit would not do anything to him without a trial. This was the perfect chance to test Kirit's abilities. Kirit declared that this man would definitely not return alive today. He is not going to judge him according to the laws. Minutes after the execution of the executioner, Kirit received a level increase. In addition, a super C-rank spell was obtained. The karma of the heretics became the strength of Kirit. The hero realized that the executioners were ordinary criminals. Now he has found a good way to become stronger. He needs to get rid of all the heretics in this world. Suddenly the young man's phone rang. He was told that he should under no circumstances be caught by the control department. It was clear that big criminals were behind the deceased. Looks like Kirit has found a big deal. When he heard a couple of insults, he smashed the phone. He decided to report this to Major Kara. He wanted to thank her for providing him with the information. That same evening, one of the criminals was furious. He was informed that Maki had been captured. The team captain, Ruth, felt like these people were coming for them. If Maki was caught, it means the enemy was also a hunter. Captain Ruth decided to move on to the next location. He wanted to meet the guy from the phone conversation as soon as possible. The control department arrived at the city's special prison. Kara announced that the prison had a material that would dampen the hunter's abilities. When imprisoned, hunters of rank A and below lose their abilities. Rank C hunters can only use half of their abilities. Kara arrived here to meet a major criminal. The criminal was a former hunter and instructor of the Hijit control department. Kara reproached him for talking too much over the past 8 years. But Hijit reproached her for becoming a major in such a short time. They knew each other well and had not seen each other for a long time. Hijit made a name for himself with a serious assassination attempt. Kara showed him photographs of criminals who had become active. Crimes have become more frequent, as if these people are in charge of managing them. Hijit was afraid that Kara would suspect him of being the mastermind behind these crimes. Kara wanted to make sure that Hijit couldn't lift a finger. Events similar to the attempted assassination of the Prime Minister will not be repeated. The criminal immediately told Kara about the attempted murder that took place 8 years ago. He believed that the current staff consisted of incompetent fools. So 8 years ago, he decided he wanted to bury them and make an example of them. Despite this, he regretted the tragedies that occurred during the incident. His father was an outstanding hunter. Kara knew this very well, but Hijit said that over the years he had not even received any help from his father. He is completely neutralized and helpless in this room. Kara promised that he would spend the rest of his life like this. After the interrogation, Kara told the assistant that the hunters had been called then. They stopped Hijit's actions, but the losses were irreversible. One of these hunters was Kara's father. Kara suggested forgetting about the incident and return to work. She saw the news that a body had been found at the intersection. She immediately realized that the guy who escaped from the dungeon had helped her. Meanwhile, the protagonist visited a D-rank dungeon. It was an ordinary brick mine. Kirit promised Kashid that they would carry out this mission valiantly, and then a huge monster flew out at them. The very inexperienced Kashida was scared to death. Once he concentrated his mana, he felt confident. He struck the monster but got no result. Then Kirit rushed to his aid. At that very moment, several such monsters appeared in the dungeon. Kashida suddenly attacked one of them. The entire location was filled with monster corpses. The main character, together with Kashira, cut off their heads and cut their bodies in half. After these kills, they waited for the dungeon boss. The mine boss was several times larger than his subordinates. Kashida said he was willing to give up any challenge reward. The hero went into battle to get good materials for himself. He was not at all afraid in the face of such a serious opponent. Despite the difference in size, he was much stronger. He grabbed the only weapon and pounced on the monster. The monster immediately received serious damage. Then Kirit made another attack. The mine boss was killed. After killing the boss, Kirit received a secret technique. This technique will allow him to reveal his abilities. Kirit stayed up all night to create a soul capsule from Loki's materials. The main motive for clearing the dungeon was the materials for creating the soul capsule. The hero tried to create this capsule, but there was no result. Only after a dozen attempts did an incomplete sphere emerge. Closer to the morning, Kirit managed to create something similar. It was a soul capsule that absorbed the power of precious metal. With its help, Kirit will be able to increase the stats of not only mana, but also other indicators. This way he won't have to rely solely on the executioner's ability. The news reported that a man's body was found at the intersection. Forces were spotted at the crime scene, which took place in Fuku province. Kirit decided to report everything to Kara. That same evening, Major Kara was returning from work. She arrived at the parking lot to go home, but suddenly she saw a note from Kirit on the car. In addition to the note, there was the criminal's broken phone. Kirit told her in a note that this was the phone number of the murdered Maki. The girl immediately called her colleagues to report the discovery. She had some ideas about Hijit's pet. She was informed that the person she needed was now in Tokyo. Even the colonel of the control department didn't know what to do with these criminals. The girl arrived at work and said that there was only one number on the phone. A phone signal points to the location of a criminal hideout in Tokyo. But the colonel knew that the criminal incident had occurred not in the current, but in Fuka. They also found a lot of evidence about Fuki at the scene of Maki's death. Hijit's pet Jim was also spotted in Fuka. The association sends hunters for this master. Investigators suspect that Jim's real target is in Tokyo. Perhaps Jim and Hijit want to attack the Prime Minister again. They are already fully prepared and are waiting for the association's next move. The colonel reported that the Prime Minister was flying abroad today. No prisoner will be able to take revenge on him for what happened 8 years ago. Kara reported that the departure airport was located directly behind the prison where Hijit was being held. If everything turns out to be true, she will be able to prevent tragedy. The association's colonel tried to trust her instincts. He sent Kara on a mission and waited for her report. Meanwhile, outside the prison, preparations for crimes were already underway. The group leader received the report that the operation in Fuka had already begun. He had a detailed plan of all the city's tunnels. He told Jim to begin the operation. Jim walked up to the prison wall and whispered a few words. The system has detected a Death's Hand ability. The prison wall shook and began to fall apart into pieces. Jim realized that there was a material suppressor behind the wall. He put on the bracelet to make this problem disappear forever. After this, the gang leader announced the start of the operation. He had about 100 criminals under his command. Using Jim's abilities, they quietly made their way inside the prison. Jim easily broke down all the walls in their path. Not only the walls, but also the floor and ceiling crumbled. In a matter of minutes, the people from the control department created something like a bunker. The criminals were met by agents who tried to stop them, but they were killed immediately. Ruth ordered his subordinates to go to the control room. First, they need to open the door. For this case, Jim has a special ability. He touched the door and a hole appeared in it. After this, he blew into this hole and released a deadly poison. Everyone inside the room died. After this, the heroes opened the door and went inside. They found the necessary information on the computer. The surveillance camera footage has been deleted. With the help of cameras, Ruth found the place where Hijit was sitting. He decided that his team would go to Hijit. Upon arrival, they knelt down in front of the instructor. It was important for them to free him and take him with them. Hijit knew that they would come for him today. He was already tired of languishing in anticipation of this moment. Meanwhile, Kara was driving to prison at full speed. On the way, she called for reinforcements from her employees. She was informed that they would most likely not come. Kara and her assistant decided to stop the criminals alone. When they stepped inside, they realized they were one step too late. The assistant tried to stop Kara from doing dangerous things. She hoped that the suppressor had worked, and the criminals were without power. If this is true, then the control department has a chance to defeat them. Kara took out her gun and started shooting at the criminals. Jim activated his abilities and caught all the bullets. The bullets were stopped, and almost immediately scattered into many pieces. Jim reproached Kara for her bad manners. The girl couldn't understand how his abilities worked in the presence of the suppressor. Jim showed her the bracelet and told her about the serious preparation. This bracelet can block the effect of suppressors. Ruth was angry that Jim told about their bracelets. The freed Hijit greeted Kara again. Kara realized that he was targeting the Prime Minister again, just like 8 years ago. Hijit assured her that her arrival had not changed anything. He doesn't plan to fight her now, because she's going to die today anyway. Reinforcements arrived for the control team and opened fire. Jim easily stopped all the bullets and sprayed the poison. This poison killed all those who came to help Kara. The control major realized that they were in a hopeless situation. Jim grabbed Kara by the neck and activated another ability. Kara felt an electric current run through her body. An assistant rushed to her aid and opened fire, but his shots were blocked again. Jim again caught all the bullets flying at him. Suddenly, Jim's hand flew to the side. Dark scarlet blood poured onto the floor. The young man realized that he had miscalculated his moves. Kara didn't know who carried out the attack. It turned out that the main character had come to her aid. He promised Kara that today they would deal with all the criminals. Jim realized that Kirit was on Kara's side and attacked him. He scanned Kirit and saw unusual abilities in him. The main character was not at all worried in front of him. He knew that today he would win over everyone. He grabbed the sword and swung it, but Jim activated the shield in time. Kirit didn't expect him to instantly create a barrier of mana. It seems that he is not the only one who is so good at wielding the Force. Despite the speed of his reaction, the hero considered it an insignificant trick. He fought back against his opponent, and Jim began to think about losing. At that very moment, blood burst out of his body. He instantly fell to the ground and stopped moving. By killing Jim, Kirit gained a new ability and leveled up. He announced that Ruth would be the next victim. Ruth thought that Kirit must be under the influence of a suppressant. Because of the suppressor, the hero would not be able to release so much mana. The protagonist scolded the gang leader for his vanity and the murder of innocent people. He declared that they would definitely pay for their sins. Ruth had heard that voice somewhere before. He realized that it was Kirit who had spoken to him on Maki's phone. Ruth was angry and created poisonous mana. He was ready to avenge his partner's death. He spat out several streams of poisonous liquid. This ability is much easier to stop than Loki's lightning. Thanks to Loki's Sora, Kirit will handle this perfectly. A single hit from his ability is enough to kill anyone. If Ruth touches Kirit, the hero will simply disappear. Rudd hoped that at least a drop would fall on Kirit. The protagonist carefully maneuvered between streams of poisonous liquid. He made it so that he was one step away from Ruth. Ruth didn't have time to take action for close combat. He realized that it was too late to do anything, because the sword was flying towards him. The protagonist split his body in half with one blow. By killing Ruth, Kirit leveled up. Besides this, he gained another ability. Kara didn't understand how Kirit could move like that under the influence of the suppressor. She became interested in this young man and decided to get to know him better. Kirit had no time for acquaintances, because he knew that there was another criminal. He only crossed paths with him for a second, but recognized him immediately. It's rare to find mana like this anywhere. This is the strongest person Kirit has ever met in this world. Meanwhile, terrible events were taking place at the airport nearby. Hijit carried out several terrorist attacks. The soldiers realized that this was a hunter of at least rank C. They had to do everything to ensure that the plane carrying the Prime Minister took off. They opened fire and simultaneously called for backup. All the bullets were stopped by Hijit's ability. He turned them into little coals. Hijit, not fearing his fate, went out to the army of soldiers. He announced that now everyone would burn alive. After this, several fireballs flew at the soldiers. All the planes and hangars at the airport caught fire. The soldiers did not have time to escape and were burned alive. One of the hunters spotted Hijit and attacked him. Unfortunately, he was unable to do so as Hijit noticed him. Hijit was ready to kill anyone who would stop him from committing a terrorist attack. All these 8 years he has been targeting the Prime Minister. He realized that he was not at this airport. Hijit used several abilities to play hide-and-seek with him. He embodied all the fire mana to burn down this airport. Hijit was angry that he failed to carry out the terrorist attack on the minister. Meanwhile, Kara and her team headed to the airport. Kara feared that Kirith's strength would not be enough to fight Hijit. The protagonist assured her that she just needed to believe in him. The girl hoped that today would be the day she would put an end to crime. They arrived at the airport, where they were about to undergo a difficult mission. With his actions, Hijit created a real fire show. The protagonist wanted to deal with Hijit alone. Kara forbade him to do this, and ordered him to take care of the victims. Now Hijit is just a mass murderer. He fits the criteria of Kirit's abilities perfectly. Kara decided to take Kirit with her on the mission. However, she could not guarantee his complete safety. She asked him not to do anything terrible. The protagonist needs to understand the limits of his own abilities. There is a war going on right now, a war between life and death. The entire airport was covered in flames. Hijit finally waited for the Prime Minister. He met him face to face. For 8 years he could not calm down because of the orders of such an absurd man. Hijit was angry that Kara had also arrived at this place. He warned her 100 times not to interfere with him. But now it was too late. Kara hoped that Hijit would surrender due to being outnumbered. But Hijit was too self-confident. Hijit lunged at the Prime Minister, but was immediately stopped. Kirit hit him with the ball. He bought time for the Prime Minister to escape. The government official was grateful to Kirit for saving him. After this, Hijit became even more aggressive. Now his target was not the Prime Minister, but Kirit. He activated all the best abilities in himself. After this, the heroes felt a dark aura. For now, Kirit is busy with the Prime Minister's security. He took him to a safe place and apologized for the inconvenience. Kara came face to face with an embittered Hijit. She felt that Hijit had lost his mind. Hijit admitted that he had not lost his mind, as he had almost completed his plan. He announced that his mission would be completed when he killed everyone. All that remains is for him to deal with the small pawns that are getting in his way. He engaged in close combat with Kara. Kara lacked the strength to withstand the attacks. Despite 8 years in prison, Hijit was in his old form. He was sure that Kara would not be able to win this fight. Hijit released flames at her and threw her into the distance. Kara was seriously injured and had to activate her regeneration. She unknowingly allowed Hijit to cut her flesh. This moment angered the girl and she attacked Hijit. Hijit proved to her once again that she was not his equal. He threw fireballs at her over and over again. He had fun playing with her like a dog. The flames completely covered the girl's body and prevented her from concentrating. At the end of the fight, the girl realized that she would definitely lose. Her whole body was covered in burns and she had no strength left. She understood that even Kirit was no match for this monster. Kirit calmed her down and announced that he could handle everything. By this time, he had already received 110 mana points. In this fight, he wants to use his full potential. Hijit had no obligation to be Kirit's opponent. He didn't want to waste his energy on trash, but Kirit wanted the opposite. He offered Hijit a solo battle. Hijit became worried because he noticed the hero had strong mana. He was afraid that he wouldn't be able to cope with it, but he still activated his best ability and attacked Kirit. Kirith was ready for his fiery attack. He had several A-level abilities in his arsenal. The hero used the deadly poison ability. Hijit created an energy barrier that protected him from the poison. After that, he continued throwing fireballs. Kirit's mana was enough to counter it. However, Hijit noticed his weaknesses. The hero has not yet reached the level that Hijit has. Kirit used his opponent's ability to create a fiery explosion. Oddly enough, Hijit didn't take any damage. He noticed that during the fight, the young man used only mana. This is the difference between Kirit and Hijit. The hero suggested that Hijit continue, otherwise he would return to the cell again. He admitted that the difference in their strength was great, but he decided not to give up. Hijit accepted his offer and activated the super spell. The second tough stage of their fight began. Hijit admitted that he did not want to attack Kirit. The protagonist simply acts because he wants to help Kara. Kirit realized that if the fight continued, it would drag on for a long time. He was already running out of strength, so he increased the distance. Hijit is confident that he will attack him despite the distance. While running away, Kirit immediately received fire in the back. He realized that his opponent would not allow him to increase the distance even further. Hijit is just playing with him. The main character decided that he would also play tag with him. He used mana and activated acceleration. Hijit immediately followed him. Its acceleration is several times more powerful than Kirit's. Kirit has only one chance to win. He wants to put all his mana into the last hit. He takes advantage of Hijit's habit of jumping forward without thinking. At that moment, he will hit him on the head. The opponent didn't like that Kirit was using his power foolishly. He didn't even expect that the hero would outsmart him and catch him in a relaxed moment. And so the blood of Hijit was spilled on the battlefield. After 2 hours of fighting, Kirit breathed a sigh of relief for the first time. A feeling of calm descended upon the airport. Hijit was finished. Kirit felt incredibly tired, as he hadn't fought like this for a long time. He received several level-ups for killing Hijit. In addition, he acquired a new hidden ability. A few minutes ago, passers-by witnessed a murder. They felt they shouldn't talk about what they knew. They assumed that Hijit was as useless as trash. They were confused by the fact that the killer was much weaker than the great Hijit. Despite this, they recognized good potential in him. They left abruptly to tell everything they knew in detail. That same evening, Loki Sora recalled her training with Kirit. She never learned to control mana. She needs to control her lightning like a thread. Kirit assured her that she would definitely succeed. Loki Sora wanted to become stronger as soon as possible. She repeated Kiritani's training day after day. She just needs to focus her lightning on one point. Every time it ended in failure. After training, Loki watched the news of the previous day. The news was about a hunter who defeated Hijit. It turned out to be Kiritani, who had 5 abilities upon awakening. It became known to all viewers that Kirit had surpassed Loki Sora. Japan's first huntress was upset that she had been relegated to the background. She grabbed her weapon again and went to training. A few days later, Kirit's figure became the talk of the town among the high-ranking people. His actions called an emergency round-table meeting. Previously, these people stopped all regular meetings due to lack of problems. The lady was informed that a man had appeared who could control mana. It was discovered by the Gemini, who were sent to test new developments. The leader gave permission to destroy this man to get rid of the trouble, but chasing after it is too energy-consuming. The masters were alarmed by the fact that in recent years, people had become better at controlling mana. Now it is not only the masters who can release it. The man who stopped the rift was another coincidence. As long as the masters have information, nothing will happen to them. One of them decided to keep an eye on this man for a bit, but he didn't see the point, because it didn't cause them any problems. The lady was also informed that the twins saw that guy with an energy sword. The leaders believed that with such weapons he was doomed to a miserable existence. The news reported that Kirit has received a lot of attention in recent days. The hero is the first to receive 5 abilities upon awakening. He asked Kara to calm down after the incident with Hijit. The girl wondered whether it was necessary or not. In any case, the country needed to eliminate such a criminal. Kirit, however, believed that it was not necessary to kill Hijit. Kara explained that this is what the compliance officers do. She took advantage of the moment and asked Kirit to restore that phone. In addition, she invited him to join their team. She promised to provide him with better working conditions. Kirit thought that Jim and Shima would be happy with this outcome. Kara immediately remembered their abilities. Shim has the ability of deadly poison. Jim wields the acidic hand of death. These same abilities were also publicly declared by Kiritani. It appears that Kirith can steal the abilities of other awakened. The protagonist interrupted the conversation so as not to reveal his secrets. He had another important meeting ahead of him. He announced that he would look forward to working with Kara. He is currently at level 28. Of all the stats, he only pumped up mana and stamina. The results of long-term consumption of the soul capsule have appeared, and so Kirit arrived at the hospital to see Mary. The girl learned that she could be cured of her allergy to mana. After that break, she is recovering quickly. Kirit was upset because he brought her soul capsules. The girl happily agreed to accept this gift. She announced that after treatment, she wanted to become a hunter like her brother. The main character was against this idea, but that didn't mean she couldn't become one. Mary wanted to make her brother's dreams come true. She wants to see the world through Ren's eyes. Suddenly, Kirit felt a flow of mana from her. He didn't have time to think about it before the phone rang. Timur from the Hunters Association was on the line. He had important information for the hero. Kirit said goodbye to Mary, putting her wishes aside for later. He thought he had imagined a manifestation of her mana. A month later, news came to Kushida that an X-rank person might appear. It was about a guy who single-handedly defeated Hijit, but Kirita wasn't worried about that, but rather that Kushida was still at level C. He began to wonder if he was making Kushida train enough. But he was sure that with such a mentor, he was developing too quickly. He changed the subject and suggested meeting with the association. And so they met Timur. Kirit was already tired of meeting him. Timur reported that an important person was waiting for Kirit. He escorted him to the association president. This is the president of the entire Japanese branch of the Hunters Association. Wakam Kenzu was proud to have met such a potential hunter. Kushida Shin announced that he was Kiritani Shora's student. Wakam noticed that he had become much stronger lately. He would be happy to talk to his friend's grandson, but this meeting is dedicated to Kirit. Wakam showed Kiritu that the association had promoted him to A rank. Even Loki Sora needed a year to achieve such success. Kirit, without hesitation, announced that he was ready to receive C rank. Wakam explained that a hero cannot reach C rank with just basic abilities. Only those who have proven their strength are worthy of this rank. Therefore, the president is ready to make an offer to Kiritu. After the Labyrinth incident, the dungeons were given a rupture rank from C to CC. All the monsters in the dungeon near Lichi City look like the defenders of the hidden core. Wakam invited Kirit to join the investigation of that case. The result could prove Kirit's abilities. For these purposes, Kirit wants to create his own guild. Vakam ordered Timur to help Kirit with these important matters. Kirit was glad that he was given access to the C-rank dungeon. He explained to Kashid that he would create a guild as long as the association supported him. He would like to attract people with whom he interacted in a past life, but in his head, the bad memories were clearer than the good ones. Based on his life story, he named his guild Reboot. Kirit entered her into the database and she was given an F rank. So far, there are only 2 members, including Kashida. Kashida knew for sure that they needed a healer to go into the dungeons. Kirit was willing to have at least 1 healer on the team. However, he was against Kashida Shin going with him on the next expedition. Shin may complete his Mana Master abilities in the future, but not now. Kirit can't promise to protect him in a difficult dungeon. But the young man was ready to challenge himself and go with his mentor. The main character finally agreed and suggested going to the hunter's shop. They need to take good equipment with them on their hike. Right there at the Kiritani store, Sir met Loki Sora. He invited her to talk, but was sure that she would refuse. Kirit told Loki that he had been invited to join a group to go to Lichi's dungeon. He needs the opinion of an experienced expert, like Loki. Kashida Shin had not met her yet. After some time, he finally recognized the best hunter in Japan. Kirit asked him to keep Loki's identity a secret. Loki listened to Kirit and agreed to show him the places with the best hunter's things. An hour later, the heroes were fully prepared with the equipment. All that remains is to choose a weapon suitable for the Cradle of Magnus dungeon. Loki showed off the gun shop where she is a regular customer. The heroes were greeted with special warmth. The owner of the weapons shop was named Izumi. Loki asked him to help her friends with the same good conditions. Kirit and Kashida showed the old man due respect. Izumi didn't see any potential hunters in them. He refused to sell them weapons despite Loki's request. Kirit also said that he would not buy any military weapons here. He expected something more super cool from this store. He picked up the first sword he came across and declared that he could break it with ease. He humiliated the old man for selling such fragile things to the best hunters. Evil Izumi promised the hero that he could take anything if he broke the sword. Kirit immediately activated mana and touched the sword. Immediately, 1,000 small fragments scattered throughout the store. The tip of the sword fell right at Izumi's feet. The old man immediately regretted the words he had spoken. He clearly didn't expect this weakling to break his valuable weapon. Only Kirit was confident in his strength. It was as if the sword was made of brittle metal. Izumi didn't understand what kind of strange guy had visited his shop. Loki said that the old man had definitely heard of Kiritani before. Kirit was the only one who destroyed the rift with one blow. Izumi apologized for not being able to recognize a man of such caliber. Even though the promise was oral, he kept his word. This is the price he must pay for underestimating his guest. He led the heroes to the secret room and opened the door. A staircase leading to the basement appeared in front of the hunters. The lower the heroes descended, the more they felt the energy of a powerful weapon. And then a huge hall with various combat items appeared. Izumi also allowed Kashida to take whatever he wanted. However, he asked to take what would be used in real combat. Kirit decided to trust the old man's confidence in his business. His gaze immediately fell on the right thing. It was an infernal ash sword. Ever-burning fire has the initial effect of an iron wall of mana. As an additional effect, it restores spent mana. Izumi created this weapon from materials collected from the defenders. The sword burns everything that comes near it. He was lying in one of the defenders' fragments when he was discovered. The infernal hell rift was closed after 1,000,000 innocent deaths. No one took their belongings out of respect for the fallen. Kirit took the sword in his hands and scared Izumi. He just wanted to test the stats of the SS-class defender. Izumi was sure that the newbie wouldn't be able to handle the SS-class hunter's weapon. None of those present knew that Kirit had received the ability after Hijit's death. The SS Flame embodiment ability finally came in handy. This fiery flame felt like a living being to Kirit. The hero reminded Loki about training the density of his stance. A girl should not put force into any of her movements. He wanted to show her a lesson with this sword, and Izumi fainted from what she saw. To begin with, Kirit concentrated all his mana into his palms. Then he seemed to pour it onto the sword. Mana lines have changed the behavior of fire flames. Kirit taught Loki to change the lines of mana in the same way she changes the path of lightning. He created several energy threads that completely control the flame. After this, he decided that the sword now belonged to him. It all looked like a magical fire show. Neither Kashida nor Izumi understood how Kiritu managed to do this. Loki Sora finally understood what Kirith was talking about during training. The fiery sword was completely subordinate to its new master. Previously, Izumi was sure that the newcomer could not handle him. This sword is called Martial Artist and is CC rank. Kirith was delighted with the damage he was doing to them. After Kirit checked the characteristics, the sword disappeared. It has evolved into a bracelet, a high-end technology. With this bracelet, Kirit can skillfully wield any weapon. The weapon will increase its ability depending on the amount of mana. It seems that Kirit's current experience has activated a past life ability. Loki decided to thank the hero for such valuable lessons. She had important information about that C-rank dungeon. According to her, in the Magnus Cradle dungeon, the hero needs to be extremely careful. There are many hunters who don't like Kirit. The dungeon is isolated from the outside world, and many hunters seek revenge. Loki's guild, Poison, will be participating in this event, and will be able to provide assistance to the hero. Kirit refused help because he was confident in his own abilities. A few days later, a portal appeared near the dungeon in the province of Lychee. Many hunters had set up camp near the gates in advance. Kushida was worried about the difficulty of the dungeon, but Kirit reassured him. But even the professionals were nervous about a campaign of such high rank. Kirit promised that there would be no problem if Kushida followed him. Already at the preparation stage, the hunters were looking at Kirit. They were unhappy with his appearance here. It seems that Loki was right to worry about Kirit. Experienced hunters will give him a lot of problems. Despite the tense atmosphere, Kirit decided to get to know the participants. He declared himself as the master of the Reboot Guild. Yasuda was the master of the Dalnik Guild, and Yamagawa was the leader of the Yama Buffers. Kirit realized that all the masters would pretend that he simply didn't exist. He was reluctantly greeted by the Titan Guild's tank master, Jin Arak. Kirit repeated to him that he was the master of the Reboot Guild. Jin Arak laughed at him that his guild only had 2 members. But he heard that the hero had defeated the experienced hunter Hijit. He didn't believe it, because even he couldn't defeat him. According to him, an inexperienced hunter does not have the necessary skills for this. Then Kirit offered to test his abilities personally. Jin Arak was furious at such an impudent newcomer. Yasuda asked the heroes to stop this pointless conversation. Jin wants to test how long Kirit can last in this dungeon. The main character did not show his true face as the best hunter. All the monsters in the Cradle of Magnus dungeon were named after guards. The reason for this is the core inside the dungeon. Outside the dungeon, the hunters set up camp in case of an emergency. None of them know if the rift will break out. Poison Guild Master Ohara explained that this dungeon was different from the others. This time, teams were assembled to prevent danger in advance. Each team must monitor the zone they have chosen. Kushida was proud that he would be entering a high-ranking dungeon. And so the small guild of Kirit entered the portal. Upon entering, all hunters were met by monsters. They attacked from the first second after the start of the cleanup. The group leaders ordered that the larger specimens be left in the tanks. Other hunters should take care of the smaller monsters. The team members divided up the responsibilities wisely, so as not to interfere with each other. The first batch of dungeon guards was defeated. Many participants rushed to collect things left behind by the monsters. Due to the activity of Jin's guild, Kiritou has no place to engage in battle. Jin Arak deliberately did not want to leave work for Kirit. He incites the hero to a place where their lives are in equal danger. Shin was worried, but Kirit reassured him that this level was ideal for his skills. And then one of the dungeon bosses came out to confront the main character's team. Jin announced that it was the turn of the Reboot Guild. He didn't care that there were only 2 participants. Kirit was confident that his team would cope brilliantly with the monster. He realized that there was no need to use the Ashen Sword yet and put it away. He entered the battle with a normal sword, and Kushida Shin took out Izumi's gift. With this set of weapons, the guys will definitely cope with the task. When confronting the boss, Shin activated the defensive stance he had learned. Thanks to Kirit's lessons, the young man dealt with the first mini-boss. None of the tanks believed that a low-ranking hunter had done this. Meanwhile, Kirit deliberately angered the second boss. He didn't intend to kill him with his own hands. All this was to increase Kushida's experience. Kushida Shin trained in mana manipulation techniques on this monster, and so the second mini-boss of the dungeon was killed. Suddenly an arrow flew into Kirit's hand. The hero realized that this was a possible attack by the Avengers. Yasuda explained that he simply wanted to help the newbie guild. Kirit broke the arrow in anger and asked everyone not to interfere with him. This gesture further angered those who envied Kirit. The main character didn't have time to finish arguing with them before the monster attacked him. Kirit reacted in time and fought him off. In this way, he showed the Avengers that he was much better than them. He explained that his guild would become famous for quality, not quantity. Guilds with thousands of members will never achieve the same success. They decided to get rid of Kirit as quickly as possible so that he wouldn't be an eyesore. At that moment, Kirit felt a strange presence. He ordered all participants to lie down on the ground immediately. He felt a huge snake attack them from above. Her devilish eyes spoke of her high rank. The snake stopped and 100 lasers flew out of its body. These lasers attacked many hunters. They literally tore off their limbs and heads. One of the lasers was flying straight at Kushida. The mentor arrived in time to help and blocked the laser with his sword. 100 lasers formed a deadly crater. This trap was just activated by the hunters themselves. This phenomenon is called the Magnus effect. It occurs due to the difference in pressure between the rotation of an object and its movement along a smooth surface. The Magnus's Cradle Dungeon is named after the attack characteristics of the monsters. Many participants could not cope with the attack of this snake. Kirit realized that the previous research had been interrupted precisely because of this, but he can defend himself against attacks of such amplitude without magical powers. This proves that he is slowly gaining intuition from his past life. Kirit asked the student to move to a safe place, just in case. He wants to deal with the snake alone. He will kill her before she can do any more damage. It only took him a couple of minutes. And then the monster's head flew off and blood gushed out like a stream. It seemed to the hero like the simplest attack in a long time. Unexpectedly, Yasuda thanked him for killing the snake. It was a diversionary tactic to get Shin under arms. The hero immediately noticed that these people were not behaving in a true manner. Everyone just seemed to have gone crazy. They were simply affected by the poison. The survivors wore masks to fight off the infected. One of the team leaders ordered everyone to neutralize those under the influence. Healers are supposed to help heal the wounds of hunters with a healthy mind. Kirit realized that the snake had an additional poisonous effect. He assumed that Jin Arak knew about this from the very beginning. Jin just waited for this to get rid of Kirit and Kashida Shin. After the raid, he will simply say that he was under the influence of poison gas. Jin told Kiritu to exchange the weapon for Shin's life. After the fight with the snake, Kirit could not distinguish between enemies and allies. He can also use the poisoning excuse. Jin was confident that he would deal with the unarmed heroes. Kirit announced to him that he too had lost his mind. He shouted sharply at Kashida to lie down on the ground. Fortunately, the young man reacted to his cry in time. In that second, Kirit delivered a precise mana strike to Jin Arak. Kirit only needed one hit, and then Jin Arak's head flew off to the side. The man's body fell at the feet of the offended Kashid. With this kill, Kirith leveled up and gained a new ability. He now has 135 mana points and a sword with a martial arts bonus. It was unclear what the mood in the group would be after this murder. Jin's subordinates assumed that he had been mentally influenced. A C-class hunter simply couldn't attack a companion without reason. Kirit was afraid that the hunters would blame him for this. Yasuda realized that the monster had taken over Jin's mind. Meanwhile, Loki was in her personal tent. Suddenly she felt a familiar aura. It was Kirit who immediately reproached her for betraying him. Loki admitted that Kirith is the only one who can get on people's nerves. She knew that no hunter would harm him on this raid. The hero is curious about what Loki's team plans to do with him next. The first team was able to return only thanks to Loki. Next time Loki will be on a team with top players. Only a few participants will be able to reach the second floor. Kirit assumed that the main cleanup team had already been formed. He asked Loki to recommend his candidacy. The girl believed that they were not close enough for such requests. In exchange for the request, Kirith offered Loki a lesson in the use of mana. Loki Sora didn't promise that the guild master would pay attention to her request. What's much more important to Kirit is that it will be Loki's recommendation. Before returning, he decided to test what he had gained from Jin's death. He didn't see any abilities that he could actively use. The list of abilities only included Berserk, which increases all stats. Kirit is not yet sure about the correct use of this ability. Meanwhile, preparations were underway at the entrance to the second floor. The healers treated everyone who suffered from the monster. It seems like all the groups were attacked by the same monster. After a few hours, it was decided that one team would guard the first floor. The elite group will go to the second floor. Kashida couldn't believe that Kirit was included in this group. Still, the request to Loki worked. Before leaving, Kirith told Kashid to seek help from the Poison Guild. He himself went with experienced hunters to the second floor. But right at the entrance, stones began to fall on them. All the hunters felt the influence of foreign mana. The power of this attack is many times greater than on the first floor. Hunters need to be too careful. They didn't yet know what they were about to face. Immediately, they were attacked by the same energy beams as on the first floor. Kiritu found it strange that everything was too prepared. It seemed like everyone was just waiting for him to arrive. And then from the darkness, 1,000 monster eyes appeared. There are many more of them than the hunters expected. At the same time, something strange begins to happen to all the monsters. They screamed, and the same energy beams flew out of their bodies. Many experienced hunters were immediately wounded. These monsters were 10 times stronger than those who attacked on the first floor. It seems the association underestimated their rank. But there is no turning back, and the hunters cannot retreat. Team leader Ohara was forced to prematurely activate the power of the Unwavering Alliance. The entire location was filled with his special mana. However, the monsters did not receive any damage from this. With Ohara's power, all participants felt an increase in stats. Now the monsters' shells did not threaten them. One of the hunters was able to use Mana Wall. This helped hunters avoid being hit by projectiles. The wall has disappeared, and the hunters need to cover the mage until the spell recharges. Several people were seized with rabies, and doctors immediately began treating them. Kirit realized that experienced hunters had excellent teamwork skills. While he was admiring this, a monster appeared behind him. Luckily, Kirit noticed him in time. With one swing of his sword, he cut the monster in half. The monster's long-range attacks were stopped, and the monsters changed their strategy. This is a great opportunity for the protagonist. He cut two individuals in half with just one blow. Another giant hurried towards him. Kirit carefully neutralized him too. He pierced the monster's body with a martial arts sword. At the same time, he applied a deadly poison to the sword. The monster was on the verge of death, but did not give up until the very end. Other individuals rushed towards him, but were immediately stopped. For them, Kirit used B-rank Death Hand. In a couple of minutes, he killed 3 individuals at once. None of the hunters had previously believed in his powers. They thought he was in the squad because of his connection with Loki. Now they understand that Kirit has more than just talent. While they were watching him, Kirit finished off all the monsters. After clearing the area, the 3rd floor awaits the hunters. Loki was glad that Kirit was able to prove the validity of her recommendation. But the young man considered this the price for admission. Master Ohara expected no less from Loki's recommendation. He was proud that Kirit would go with them to the 3rd floor. Loki guessed they would finish the cleaning faster than they thought. Ohara knew that they would face many dangers, and then the hunters felt the beginning of a rift. Everyone was ordered to run to the 3rd floor. Loki hoped that Kirit would cover her in case of danger, but the main character told her that he would come later. He sat down next to the bodies of the monsters, and began to wait for the arrival of someone outside. And then this someone came. He praised Kirit for his amazing powers of observation. The hero wanted to know the identity of this man from the beginning of the campaign. This man had been watching the hunters from the very entrance to the 2nd floor. He acknowledged the protagonist's ability to use mana. Unlike others, Kirit is a professional at this. This man was curious as to who taught Kirit this. The main character is not going to tell his life story. The man had no choice but to attack. He unleashed a powerful mana shockwave. He is much higher level than Hijit and Loki. Kirit first noticed such abilities using mana. However, this did not frighten him at all. The opponent used mana concentration on his hand. This stream should cause serious damage to Kirit. The attack was right on target, but Kiritu barely managed to dodge her. The enemy explained that this was his way of expressing his hatred for those who could wield mana. Kirit realized that he was not the first victim of this madman. The man announced that Kirit's life would end today. He immediately used mana wings. Kirit knew that this skill belonged to the long-eared and fairy race. This confirms that this guy has some connection to the hero's past life. Kirit finally found a clue. He couldn't let this man go. He pounced on him, and he created a ball of mana. There were about 100 of these dangerous balls. Kirit skillfully dodged them. The entire location was filled with energetic flames. It turned out that Kirit had activated his fire sword and repelled his opponent's attack. The man saw him as a simpleton who was waving his sword in vain. He knew it wouldn't do him any harm. However, Kirit's actions brought good results. He waited for the right moment to destroy those mana wings. The wings helped the enemy avoid attack. Kirit had a general idea of his fighting style. After that, he was able to activate the Berserker skill to fight the wings. Berserker added mana to Kirit to create the Fire Ash sword. The opponent didn't expect to be caught with this particular skill. Kirit needs to attack him before he recharges the spell. He had no idea that reloading would take less than a minute. He was not prepared for the surprise attack. The enemy thought that Kirit had no ability against his strength. He concentrated all his mana and released it on Kirit. The main character could barely stand on his feet. It looks like he'll have to take some serious action here. The 8 races had their own methods of creating mana spells. They shared visions through their mana spellcasting techniques. They were working towards perfecting their skills to fight the Overlord. This was the original purpose and reason for mana spells. The main character belonged to one of these races. Previously, Kirit was unable to use the power of his past life in this world. However, with the mana he received, he managed to revive her. Now Kirit wants to demonstrate his power for the first time. At that moment, the opponent threw away all his mana. Kirit has only one chance to attack. When he struck, the opponent certainly didn't expect it. Kirit struck him down with a close combat blow. According to his calculations, the man should have dodged instead of defending himself. The opponent did not understand how the hero knew his tactics. After that, his life almost ended. The hero spent all his mana and started bleeding. This hard battle was over. The man was paralyzed but survived. Now the main character can calmly talk to him about everything. His victim didn't understand how he was so good at mana spells. He forbade Kirit to use them, and was immediately struck in the chest. Kirit ordered him to listen to him silently. First, he asked his name. He introduced himself as Kid Ruwalt. Kirit had never heard this name in his past life. It was important for him to hear how Kid learned mana magic. Keith did not want to answer his questions, but Kirit forced the answer. The main character told him several names from his past life. However, the young man does not understand what is being discussed. It seems that the fairy sorcerer knows nothing about his past life. Kirit asked him why he came here to catch him. He admitted that he came here to test his abilities with another guy. He promised that he would try to talk to the team so that Kirit would be accepted into their team. At Kirit's level, they will welcome him with open arms. But the main character did not want to join the murderers' club. Kid admitted that there are monsters there that are stronger than him. Kirit hinted that not long ago he was much stronger than his entire team. Kid started asking him more about it. Then he immediately got hit. He lost his head and died with 100 questions for Kirit. With this kill, the main character leveled up. Besides this, he acquired a new ability. The Executioner's first ability has reached X rank. The highest rank in the association was the rank of CCC. The system informed the hero that his first skill was already X rank. Perhaps this is related to his past life. Suddenly, the hero's thoughts were interrupted by a siren. Kashida waited for Kirit and reported that the siren had gone off on the first floor. Most likely, a new rift has occurred. Indeed, not far from the scene of the events, everything exploded and collapsed. Kashida reported that Loki Sora was located there. Kirit realized that it was the boss of the third floor who came out of the gap. After this, 100 monsters set out to attack the hunters. The hunters were ready to meet them without fear. Kirit left these monsters to Kashida and the Poison Guild. He himself went after the floor boss. Meanwhile, there was a high concentration of mana at the site of the rupture. The hunters didn't know how to stop this phenomenon. These monsters were comparable in complexity to a natural disaster. The hunters successfully dealt with the first wave, and decided to retreat before the second appeared. They didn't have time to do this because the boss appeared. The hunters immediately noticed the appearance of Loki's energy. Loki Sora was ready to engage in battle with this boss, but his continuous attacks do not allow the girl to get closer. Loki Sora wished that Kirit was here right now. And then, at the call of her heart, the main character appeared behind her. She was glad that he survived that expedition and returned to her. She reported that the core of the dungeon was inside this monster. The monster looked like a mountain that barely moved. The onslaught of his attacks does not allow the hunters to get any closer. Kiritu thought it would be an easy task. Apart from him, no one here can deal significant attacks. He simply decided to cut everything that could be cut. Loki Sora decided to pave the way for him to the core. At that very moment, the rock came to life and a mouth appeared. Energy balls flew out of this company. Loki activated the fire lightning at the end of the weapon. After that, she launched lightning bolts at all the flying balls. She managed to get rid of a dozen attacking balls at once. The floor boss has entered a cooldown phase. The distance between Loki and him was about 50 meters. This means that the girl can go into close combat. She ran up and launched an energy attack towards the boss. The boss's top immediately fell off. However, another entity appeared in its place. Loki immediately realized that the core was somewhere else. Kirit decided to deal with the whole problem on his own. Loki stayed behind him to support him. At this point, the hero has 180 mana points. This will be enough to attack the floor boss. Kirit used one of his abilities and struck. This time he tested the new C-rank mana bombardment ability. The floor boss was completely engulfed in flames. He was literally being torn to pieces from all sides. Kirit struck directly at the location of the core. When the core was discovered, Kirit dumped all his mana into it. After this, the news reported that the rift had been stopped by hundreds of hunters. People began to recognize Kirit's abilities. Kirit believed that Kashida was also in that 100 hunters. This situation prompted the heroes to create a guild base and invite new members. Meanwhile, a meeting of experienced people was taking place at a round table. They discussed that the butterfly man was dead because of Kirit. They blamed Leo for this, who had relaxed him earlier. Leo only mentioned that someone else had learned the entire mana spell technique. He told this for the sake of his comrades. Everyone pounced on him, accusing him of just pretending to be nice. The butterfly incident showed that he simply wanted to eliminate unnecessary people. His recklessness caused this accident. Now a cold war begins between colleagues. Everyone turned against Leo. A more important person immediately appeared and told Leo that he was wrong. According to him, Lev did something that shouldn't have been done. Leo simply reported on a man who uses the same methods in working with mana. It was immediately concluded that these people would catch up with them due to their rapid development. Lev provoked one of his colleagues, and this resulted in the death of an important person. Because of this, everyone began to doubt the wisdom of his decisions. Leo explained that Butterfly went into battle with the mana-wielding man on his own. This fight proved that their target's abilities were equal to theirs. No one present thought that Kirit could become a threat to them. Lev explained that this person simply could not have the SSS level. Lev was given one last chance, and was given full responsibility for the matter with Kirit. The Queen's previously overwhelmed army had completely destroyed Aslan's continent. 8 races fought together, putting their lives on the line. However, they left behind only chips and cobblestones. The race of dead souls sacrificed their own bodies in the first war. In the next war, Reuben was the cause of a malfunction in a perpetual motion machine. The perpetual motion machine belonged to a race of ancient dragons who had gone mad. Later, 3 of the races betrayed each other and war broke out. The task for the hunters was to separate and meet. Kirit's first order of business was to get rid of the traitors among his own. The one who was once considered the god of the sword became a true executioner. None of the hunters have any idea who they are dealing with. To regain his powers from his past life, Kirith acquired Magnus. Magnus's tablet adds points to magic. After taking the pill, the hero feels an excess of mana throughout his body. Suddenly he received a very important message and was distracted from his training. He immediately arrived at Mary's place, where she was doing her exercises. Her allergy to mana passed, and the girl took up training. She wanted to become a hunter like Kirit as soon as possible. She showed him the most talked about news of the day. Everyone was discussing Kirit and his relationship with Loki Sora. During the joint raid, they demonstrated perfect teamwork. Mary thought that Kirit was dating Loki. The hero explained that these were the most common rumors. Then the idea of bringing Kirit and Loki together came into Mary's head. Kirit told her that he likes any girls who don't bring problems. Mary wanted to take action as soon as possible. Kirit arrived at Kara. He was interested in how that case ended. While investigating the Hijit case, Kara discovered something interesting. The talk was about a cancellation bracelet that can muffle all powers. This technology is ahead of all of Japan, which means that other countries were involved. Kara narrowed the suspect pool to 3 main foreign suspects. The first suspect was Professor Boris, who was always conducting experiments. The second was an Asian named Chen, who was involved in illegal business. Professor Steve was the third suspect, and he was only interested in his research. One of these people is definitely connected with the bracelet. This information was sent to Kare by Inamutu, and Kirit did not trust it. He suggested that the girl repay his old debt with this deed. He asked to contact him as soon as any results appeared. The next day, Kirit was angry that there were no suitable candidates for the guild. They and Kashida are looking for new people to join the guild. None of them wanted to be part of a guild that only had 2 people. There are far fewer people capable of using mana than Kirit thought. So far, only Kirith and Kashida have control over mana. When the interview was over, the hero saw another girl. Kirit informed her that the interview was over for today. The girl knew about this, and that's why she came to the end. Michelle introduced herself as a hunter from Global Management America. Kirit gently pushed her away, since she was not interesting to him. Michelle came here to recommend the Hunters Guild from her company. Kirit became interested in the topic of American hunters. Michelle later said the hunting world was slowly moving to a national level. People place high bets on the Kirit Guild, which proves the importance of the guild. Kirit knew that recruiting foreigners was illegal. He read the resume and saw an experienced C-rank healer. Michelle talked about Finn, who became a hunter after being cured of his mana allergy. There were many healers on the list who simply heard about the guild's needs. One of them mentioned an allergy to mana, which Mary also had. Kirit decided to arrange a meeting with Finn, but Michelle flatly refused him this. The thing is, Finn is already here. He arrived to the guildmaster in advance because he believed in his success. Kirit greeted the experienced Finn with joy. He was worried about why the young man suddenly decided to change guild. Finn explained to him that he had already outgrown that guild in terms of level. This is precisely why he wants to transfer to a more promising team. After this answer, Kirit immediately handed him the contract. He also noticed that Finn was feeling pain in his chest. The higher Finn's rank rises, the more intense the pain becomes. He visited many guilds, but still could not find a solution to the problem. But Kirit saw why the young man was suffering so much. Now Finn's mana is getting out of control. In desperation, Finn agreed to join the Reboot Guild. But Kirit hasn't accepted him into the team yet, as the interview process hasn't finished. He decided to move on to the practical part, so they went to the training hall. Michelle forbade Finn from taking the test in this state, but Finn had already activated the mana on his weapon. He explained to Michelle that Kiritani would definitely cure his sore chest. He was ready to sign the contract right now. Kirit allowed him to use weapons, but even with that, the fight would end quickly. Finn immediately rushed to the side, preparing to attack. His mana reserves allowed him to win this training battle. At the first blow, Kirit barely stayed on his feet. After that, he threw his sword on the floor. It was a diversionary maneuver. When Finn was distracted, Kirit suddenly grabbed him by the clothes. He threw it several meters away. Finn flew into the wall and took damage. Blood started coming out of his mouth. He had never heard of such an ability before. This blow gave him the ability of CC rank regeneration. Finn believed that he had hit the jackpot by joining the guild. He delivered another blow that sent Kirit flying. It looked like the boy was hunting a monster, not Kirit. Kirit struck back at him, but something stopped him. Finn used a mana barrier in time. Kirit noted that he has good reaction speed. However, the mana barrier makes the upper hull unstable. Kirit aimed at the weak point of Finn's ability. Finn wanted to create a new barrier as soon as possible. However, he didn't have time and Kirit's fist flew at him. Finn concentrated his mana and called upon the infection skill. By doing this, he stimulates the restoration of the body's covering in order to infect the hero. An abscess appeared on Kirit's hand. Finn asked Kirit to surrender as soon as possible. After all, this is a spreading tumor. The ability to infect a tumor is equal to the ability to diagnose and treat people. This was exactly the ability that Kirit had. Finn didn't expect his infection to disappear into thin air. After hitting Finn, Kirit praised him for his interesting ability. Finn realized that the hero could cure all his pain with that ability. Kirit acknowledged his thinking and strength. He immediately offered him to sign a contract. Michelle was bothered by the fact that the guild's contract did not hold it responsible for data leaks. In addition, the contract was signed for 10 years, but this did not bother Finn. He believed that helping Kiritani was worth these conditions. From that moment on, Kirit is considered a master for him. The protagonist has dropped the formalities and simply calls his subordinate Finn. All this time, Kushida thought it was a girl and showed her signs of attention. Finn immediately disliked him for this. Kashida's heart was broken. Today, Kirit was able to assemble a minimal team. At that time, there was a meeting at the Japan Hunters Association. Oda Makito announced that a new monster will appear in a week. He ordered his subordinates to gather all the guild masters. During training, Finn used mana to get rid of the pain in his chest. He heard that Professor Steve was currently doing research on a similar topic. He is researching a method similar to mana magic. Steve says the research will help people use status more effectively. Kirit knew that the basis of the techniques could not be discovered by science and time alone. He ended the conversation and moved on to the next stage of preparation. The heroes went to the site of the real battle. During the fight, Finn will act as a healer. Kushida will attack monsters in melee combat. And now the first serious monster appeared before the heroes. Kushida Shin used his new ability. He received the principle of duality not long ago. Shin, without fear, rushed at the monster. He delivered a precise blow to the monster's head. However, the monster outwitted him and bit him. Finn immediately helped Shin, but not before scolding him for his haste. The young man's wounds immediately healed. Kushida was grateful to Finn for his excellent support. He continued to kill the monster. Finn was always there for him. He finished the fight and dealt the finishing blow to the monster. He asked Shin not to make stupid mistakes, otherwise he would no longer treat him. Even high-ranking guilds usually prepare for an A-class dungeon. Kirit's team is in sync, so the three of them can handle it. Finn noticed that the monsters in this dungeon were too strong. He heard that this was because of the upcoming strongest monster in America. The first monster appeared there 20 years after the first rift. In Japan, faults have been appearing for the past 12 years. Lately, faults have been occurring more and more frequently. They are probably a harbinger of a quietly approaching disaster. After training, Kirit returned home. Mary, who now lives with him, was already waiting for him there. She told the hero that a guest had come to see him. Loki Sora came to him because of his broken promise. Mary stuck to her goal and left the heroes alone. Kirit couldn't understand when the girls had managed to become close. Loki explained that she and Kirit's sister were the same age. Kirit said that this was not his sister, but his companion's sister. The girl didn't expect Kirit to be such a good person. She changed the subject and showed the golden lightning bolts that had brought her here. She showed that she had learned to control mana. She understood the technique that Kirit taught her. Loki came to get Kirit to fulfill his promise. The hero gave her a book that would help her move to the next level. But there was nothing about mana magic. Loki wanted to learn this in combat, not by memorizing theory. She offered to teach Kirit directly. Suddenly she received a message about the appearance of a monster. The monster is supposed to appear in the city of Shizuoka. Kirit expected it to happen somewhere nearby. However, everything is happening too quickly. Loki hurried to the guild and suggested meeting in Shizuoka. Kirit immediately called his team. Kushida went to the guild base after seeing the message from the association. The association reported the energy of a monster near the city and asks for the participation of all masters. Kirit ordered his comrades to prepare everything necessary and go to Shizuoka. Mary believed that Kirit would succeed. Having prepared himself, Kirit urgently went to Shizuoka. Meanwhile, Kushida met with Finn, and Kirit took them with him. On the way, they discussed the Maxby monster. He is very different from other monsters. Kushida suddenly felt terrified by this explanation. Kirit remembered Finn's allergy, which had gone away after the split. Finn said that he became a hunter after a full recovery. Kirit first heard about mana allergy from Mary. So, Mary can also become a hunter. Finn heard that a friend of the master found herself in a similar situation. These people have too much mana, and after awakening, Finn received a special ability. The CC rank mana reactor ability triples the owner's mana. Kirito couldn't understand why the guilds let such a talented man go so easily. Finn didn't have time to answer. He was interrupted by a frightened Kushida Shin. It turned out that the association even brought helicopters. Kirito decided that they needed to hurry too. And so, a couple of minutes later, they entered Shizuoka. There were soldiers everywhere on the streets. Everything here is more serious than the heroes thought. This was because such a monster appeared in this country for the first time. Kirito decided to drop by the headquarters of the Hunters Association. He immediately felt a tense atmosphere inside. The association leader thanked everyone for responding to his challenge. He decided to immediately determine the goal and positions of the hunters. He asked the Kirito Guild to oppose Maxby in the vanguard. Reboot has already demonstrated its competence to everyone during the last campaign. In addition, a C-class hunter recently joined the guild. No one present objected to this idea. The main character would not like to stand out with his strength. He promised to live up to the expectations placed on him. Soon, he and the guild went on a mission. Kushida wasn't sure if Kaido would show up here. They have been waiting for him for several days. More than a week has passed since the association published its forecast. The assistant explained to Kirito that there were no perfect methods of forecasting. It all looked like the heroes had been gathered together for no reason. But the association promised that Kaido would appear here within a week. She wouldn't have raised so many people because of a bad feeling. She clearly had confidence that he would attack, but it is not clear who warned them. It is also strange that a large number of hunters have gathered here in the city. Suddenly, Kushida reported that Kaido had appeared, but not here. The news reported that he burned down a street in Yokohama in a couple of minutes. He appeared there when all forces were concentrated in Shizuoka. The heroes need to hurry and finish him off. Meanwhile, Yokohama was completely covered in fire. There was real panic among the people, and everyone was asking for help. One of the people did not have time to run for cover. Something huge fell on him and killed him. It was one of the largest monsters. Rescue services immediately arrived at the scene. Loki Sora was the first to rush to this monster. However, her power will not cause any damage to this monster. The monster was 100 times larger than the largest building in the city. Loki estimated his height at 60 meters. Its size makes her eye unsteady. The monster appears to be absorbing mana from the environment. This is the first time Loki Sora has encountered such an enemy. This even made her shudder. Still, she found the strength within herself and concentrated. Kirito asked her to show her best attack. Immediately, the entire space was filled with golden lightning. This was Loki's best ability, Lightning Flash. In addition, the girl used Thunder Rain and Thunder God's Strike. This should definitely work in Loki's favor. Lightning and thunderstorms reached the giant. The monster suffered serious damage. However, he stayed on his feet and continued moving. Loki thought that a direct blow would definitely kill him. The monster regenerated, and there was not a single scratch on it. But then a flame suddenly appeared, which knocked over the monster. Loki didn't understand why exactly Kirith's attack worked. Perhaps her strength is not enough. This monster was truly enormous in size. Loki Sora wanted to deal with him alone. Ohara told everyone to spare no effort. They must stop Maxby by any means necessary. But the hunter's attacks did not bring any results. Everyone realized that the monster neutralizes any magic. And then Maxby suddenly pulled out his huge tail. The tail instantly destroyed all buildings and people. Those who attacked Maxby were thrown back into the distance. After this, the monster let out the most vile scream. The gravity shift was activated, and all the hunters flew upward. Loki was not at all embarrassed by this phenomenon. Seeing her activity, Maxby went into another phase. He lowered the gravity level and knocked Loki over. He deliberately lifted the hunters up in order to then hit them on the ground. Loki didn't understand where the monster got so many abilities from. She approached Maxby so that, in the event of an attack, only she would be harmed. The monster was not averse to dealing with this minor nuisance. Loki took all his attacks with pride, and so the monster's magic and Loki's mana became intertwined. It was all like a fight between an ant and a giant. After this attack, Loki started bleeding. The monster immediately released its bonds. Loki didn't expect that Maxby had this weapon in stock. The monster trembled and let out a vile scream. The sound made Loki bleed from every orifice. The girl needs to hold out until reinforcements arrive. The monster dealt her significant damage time and time again. And then the guildmaster came to Loki's aid. He told Loki to leave, but she continued to fight. After another blow, the monster turned around and left. Loki thought he had changed his mind about attacking, but Maxby simply targeted civilians. Loki immediately reported this to the master. Asura used the Unwavering Alliance ability. This ability helped Loki gain additional mana. She climbed onto the bridge that was in front of the monster. Maxby made another killing sound. Loki was afraid that stopping his attack would have catastrophic consequences, but she had no other choice. She threw herself with mana straight into the monster's mouth. There was a powerful explosion. Loki barely survived. She thought her attack had worked, but it was not so easy to defeat this monster. Maxby wanted to crush this pathetic girl. Suddenly, a third person interrupted him. An infernal ash sword immediately appeared. This means that Kiritani has appeared. He was worried that Loki was injured. Loki asked him for forgiveness for failing to cope. Kirit told Kushida to take her to a safe place. Finn, as a doctor, must take care of the victims. After treatment, the young men must evacuate everyone present. Kirit went to the strongest monster. He had already met him in his past life. Maxby is a scout sent to the planet to gather information. He is unable to protect any core because it is filled with hostility. Kirit doesn't like monsters that destroy everything around them. With this hatred, he made his first attack. None of the hunters understood why his attacks worked. Despite the result, Kirit was also subject to counterattacks. He had an easy time in this fight because of his large amount of mana. The hunters didn't believe in him because of the difference in body size and mana. Kirit dealt significant damage to this monster, but Maxby continued to fight without wavering. But Kirit was in no hurry. Soon the monster was completely covered in flames from Kirit's sword. Maxby wanted to catch the hero, but Kirit's speed did not allow him to do so. The young man decided to put an end to this, and grabbed his sword. After a few hits, he received an increase in the ability level. The monster threw him almost a kilometer. With his ability enhanced, Kirit launched an extreme attack. It fell upon Maxby in a huge cloud of flame. The monster tried to grab him on the fly. However, Kirit cut it down. Everyone realized that victory would be on their side. At the same time, the hero was able to cut off the monster's leg. The hunters couldn't believe their eyes. The monster loses to a single opponent. At the end of the fight, Maxby used an attack that defeated Loki. This attack could have turned the entire city into ruins. Kirit was ready to take the full brunt, and so the monster entered its extreme phase and released all its mana. Kirit responded with a berserker skill. Thanks to this, he withstood the fiery torrent. As soon as Maxby's attack stops, the hero needs to finish him off immediately. Such monsters are gigantic in size, and the hunter needs high mobility. For this purpose, the 8 races developed a secret technique called the dash. This is exactly what Kirit took advantage of. In response, Maxby intensified his attack even more. Kirit needs to hold on a little longer. He still had a secret technique called Titan Hunt in reserve. He tore away all of Maxby's offensive restraints. The monster could barely stand on his feet. Ohara ordered all hunters to begin the attack. Their attacks will no longer be suppressed. Due to damage, the monster cannot suppress magic. The moment has come when the hero can give it his all. And then the monster's body flew into pieces. The battle ended with a victory for Kiritani. The young man leveled up and received a new ability. Other hunters immediately became interested in him. Kiritou now has access to another power from his past life. The hunters didn't give him a chance to test this ability with their questions. They wanted to join his guild, Reboot. First, the hero wanted to finish the question with the monster and the reward. He went to the hospital where Loki was taken. He reassured her that all the news was only discussing her feat anyway. Loki Sora was upset that she lost so badly, but she was grateful to Kirit for his heroic rescue. Kirit told her to get well soon for the sake of the millions of people in Japan. They all await her return with trepidation. Loki never thought that Kirit would give her the support she needed. She asked him to stay with her for a while. However, Kirit refused because he was in a hurry to attend the funeral ceremony. In the news, besides Loki, everyone was proud of the Kirit Guild. Kushida wanted to brag about this to Kiritou, but he was in a bad mood. The main character wanted to test the new ability as soon as possible. In the characteristics, he noticed the appearance of the line spirituality. This is a source of power that existed in the hero's past world. This is an indicator of someone's soul. The problem is that it cannot be increased using bonus points. Kirit has an idea for this case. He immediately went to the farewell ceremony for the dead. On behalf of the guild, he expressed sympathy to all the families of the victims. He decided to sacrifice half of the reward for the last mission to them. For this act, he immediately received 32 spirituality points. Spirituality will grow if you increase your influence in society. This condition was also present in the hero's past life. Kirit made this move primarily for his own benefit. In the background, he was already thinking about those who had lost loved ones. Despite his second life, he still can't get used to such scenes. Finn thanked him for his kind heart. He handed Kirit the documents he had requested. These were secret documents about the murder of Maxby. Kirit needs them to track the person responsible for the tragedy. He went to the area where the man who had given the information about Maxby lived. Meanwhile, Professor Oda was preparing to leave urgently. He looked quite nervous. Kirit arrived in time and did not let him escape. He reproached him for predicting the appearance of the monster, but making a mistake about the place. Oda explained that it was impossible to know the exact location of the appearance. He even cited reports from the American Association as evidence. Kirit thought that Oda had deliberately lied about the place and the incorrect time, so he simply didn't give the hunters time to analyze the situation. All people believed him because he was the main researcher of mana flows. The other day, he even invented a bracelet that blocks mana. This didn't seem like an ordinary coincidence. Oda became angry and used new technology on Kirita. It was one of the homemade mana suppressors. Oda found an opportune moment to escape. However, he underestimated Kirita's abilities. The hero released the sword that had recently defeated Maxby. He hit Oda right on target. Kirit left the man alive to discuss a couple of issues. He wondered who was controlling Oda's actions. Oda admitted that he was ordered to do this. However, he did not say the exact target, and was immediately struck by a sword. It was important for Kirito to reach these people. He suggested that Oda had signed a non-disclosure agreement. Oda rebuked Kirita for breaking the law and threatening him, but Oda crossed the line first. Kirit swung at him, and Oda told him that they needed to look for the twins. Then Kirit dealt the finishing blow. He did not want to spare the one because of whom 30,000 people died. After this conversation, he decided that he needed to become stronger as soon as possible. He returned home and immediately read the news. There was not a single article about what happened to Professor Oda. All the news said that Kirit donated 30 million to the people. It looked as if Kirit was the holiest man. The young man is ready to spend any amount for the sake of spirituality. At the same time, he will not allow the overlords to do whatever they want. He fell asleep and found himself in another world. This world was from his past life and was called Iv. A strange voice called out to Kirit. He said that this world is not much different from any continent. It was Kushu from the long-eared race. She was one of the 8 heroes, just like Kirith. His other comrades also appeared, preparing to fight the queen. Kirit realized that it was just a dream. The picture changed and everyone was shouting that Kushu was injured. She was killed by monsters in a battle with the queen. Kushu regretted that they had taken aim at the queen of monsters herself. She disappeared and the picture changed again. Ruben was preparing a weapon that could destroy the queen. He announced that Iva no longer existed. He forged the queen's lair, but Kirith never touched it. It all happened too quickly. Ruben's forge was destroyed by an explosion. Realizing the threat, the creatures began to attack the dwarves' workshops. Eventually, Ruben's creation disappeared into the sea. Ruben lost all the hope he had staked his whole life on. He fell into despair and suddenly disappeared completely. The heroes found him in the mountains, which eventually became a battlefield. The cause of death was suicide. This prompted the heroes to kill the queen at any cost. Kruger from the Myth race figured out where her base is. However, he was killed by her subordinates before arriving at the base. Before he died, he managed to say a few words to Kirit. Its base is on the other side of the abyss. This is the place where there is a sea of stars that has no end. The queen is located on a round continent that drifts among these stars. Kruger asked Kirit to kill the queen and end this war. Kirit had this dream because he was fighting Overlord Maxby. Only in this life did he understand the meaning of Kruger's words. Kruger talked about space, and space kaiju called overlords. Now that Kirit has realized everything, he needs to start preparing. He went to Izumi's workshop. Izumi was surprised by his arrival. Kirit brought with him the carcass of the slain Maxby. Izumi couldn't afford to buy this monster. Earlier, he asked Kirit to bring him everything that could be made into a weapon. The hero was ready to give Izumi half. The old man was clearly interested in this deal. Kirit wanted to obtain equipment for his guild from the monster's body. Izumi had no choice but to agree. Kirit left and thought about Maxby's appearance. Its appearance means that there is a possibility of attack by other overlords. In the world where the heroes lost, they didn't even have time to make a plan. But this time everything will be different. Kirit returned home where Mary was waiting for him. The girl was seriously excited. She felt that something was wrong with her hands. Mana emanated from her hands, so she woke up, just like Finn. Everything was similar to his story. After talking with Finn, Kirit expected the same from Mary. However, Mary had too much crazy mana. The hero thought that she had awakened. Mary was happy that she could become a hunter. Kirit asked her to open the characteristics window. Mary didn't yet know that this was available to her. Mary tried to open the characteristics window several times, but all her attempts were in vain. She realized that she had dreamed about a career too early. Kirit asked her to concentrate on her breathing. During meditation, the girl developed a high concentration of mana. For the first time in his life, Kirit sees such talent. In his past life, he observed something similar in Kushu. It looks like Mary was able to wake up after all. She didn't understand what was happening to her body. Kirit explained to her that she was now different from ordinary people. If he had met her in a past life, there would have been 9 heroes, not 8. Suddenly, Kara called him. She reported that she had received new information about Inamoto Gaku. An hour later, they met the hero at the Hunter's Memorial. Kara had to do business on her only day off. Kirit realized that this place was somehow connected with Inamoto. Kara found a mention of him in the most unexpected place. This place turned out to be the lists of missing hunters. Here are the names of all the hunters who stopped Japan's first schism disaster. One of the names was familiar to the hero. It was the name of Kishida Mamoru, that is, Shin's grandfather. Among these names is the name of Inamoto, who went missing 12 years ago. Kara revealed that his ability was mana bombardment. Kirit told her in more detail about this ability, which he was already familiar with. He did not reveal that this person was the butterfly he killed. Kara immediately realized that Kirit was involved in his murder. The young man said that Inamoto was the first to attack him deliberately. Kara blamed Kirit for killing an innocent man. The protagonist explained that he punished someone whom the law could not punish. Kara was angry that this was done without her knowledge. Kirit decided to end this conversation and look at the exhibition. During the exhibition, he saw an exhibit of a powerful explosion in the center of the fault. The explosion occurred after Kishida Mamoru's ability went out of control. Kara picked up a notebook from the exhibit and read the lines of the poem. These words about a beam illuminating the path were familiar to Kirit. This was a motto that Kishida Mamoru came up with. Kirit remembered that it was the battle cry of the 8 heroes. It is also a secret ability of the mana of ancient dragons, that is, Rachel's, like Shin. That explosion must be a side effect of the perpetual motion machine. Kara had the feeling that Kirit had lived several lives. After this meeting, the hero went to the guild. There he conducted another training session with Kishida. Shin was exhausted, but Kirit ordered him to continue again and again. Kishida didn't understand why the teacher suddenly became so strict. Kirit just wanted Shin to remember Ratiel's skills from his childhood. Ratiel was originally created to strengthen the body to the limit. Since Shin learned this, the body should remember everything. Kirit announced to Shin that he would now force his body to remember the past. Kishida didn't understand why this training was taking place today. Suddenly Finn came to them and wanted to join the classes. Kirit allowed him and ordered him to treat Kishida when necessary. Finn announced that he could heal Kishida from her more battered state. Kirit too was interested in bringing back the memory of his venerable teacher's heir. Kishida Mamoru was his teacher in his past life. Suddenly Captain Tamura came to training. He had a serious conversation with the hero. He took him to his office and told him about the MCC Symposium. This is an international symposium dedicated to the latest technologies related to mana. Tamura wanted Kirit to take part in it. Kirit realized that Professor Steve would be coming to this symposium. Tamura said that Steve is one of the founders of the symposium, and therefore participates every time. In addition, Professor Boris and Professor Chan will participate. This means that all 3 of those who were suspects in the Maxby case will gather. Tamura wanted to arrange a separate meeting for Kirit with these scientists, but Kirit refused. As a result, the main character agreed to take part in this symposium. He wanted to meet the mana suppressor Mana who leaked the information to Oda. It is absolutely certain that one of these 3 is involved in this. It turned out that a top-class hunter would be arriving with Steve as a bodyguard. Only Kiritani can stand up to a hunter of his class. Meanwhile, a plane was flying in the sky over the Pacific Ocean. It was in this that Professor Steve and his assistant were flying. Steve Rowland was a scientist and mana researcher. Karina is his bodyguard and is ranked 2nd in the world among hunters. Judging by their conversation, the girl was not very friendly towards her master. She accused him of various seductions of his subordinates. She threatened him in every possible way, releasing several streams of mana. She volunteered to be his bodyguard and now regrets it. The old man reproached her that because of her rudeness, she would never be happy. Meanwhile, during the conversation, Karina was watching a video with Kirit. She asked Steve what this halo hunter had above his head. Professor Steve was clearly unfamiliar with this phenomenon. He assumed it was an angel's halo. He didn't even think about the fact that ordinary people don't have halos. Karina became seriously interested in this young hunter. She had a feeling that she would meet him somewhere. Later, all symposium participants arrived at the hotel. Many did not think that they would meet Mr. Kirit there. Journalists asked him about the abilities he used in the fight with Maxby. Many of them invited him to visit their neighboring countries. Kirit answered their questions reluctantly, and soon got rid of several of them. In the crowd of journalists, he saw Captain Tomor. The captain ordered the journalists not to disturb this distinguished guest. He felt that he simply had to make Kirit comfortable since he had invited him here. Soon, the most important people began to arrive. These people did not look like the heads of several companies. Despite this, they aroused great interest in Kirit. One of the professors walked past Kirit and didn't suspect anything. The young man smelled something dead on him. He decided that from now on, he needed to keep an eye on this old man. The journalists did not understand why Kirit followed the professor. The main character was interested in what kind of professor this was. Captain Tamura explained to him that it was Professor Steve. Steve arrived at this meeting with his assistant. It was she who interested the main character. Tamura proudly explained that this was the same SSS-class hunter from America. She confronted the Scourge of the Schism 40 times and destroyed 2 monsters. Karina is ranked 2nd in the world due to her long-range attacks. From the mana concentration, Kirit realized that it was high even for an SSS-class hunter. He assumed that she was exactly the same as Shin. If they were to collide together, Kirit would definitely not be able to handle her. In any case, he cannot leave her without attention. He decided that he would watch the suspects and Karina all evening. And then Professor Chen's speech was announced. The topic of Chen's report was the use of mana to create next-generation weapons. Suddenly, Tamura noticed that Karina had been looking at Kirita for a long time. The girl realized that this was the hunter from the video. Tamura asked Kirita to behave better, so as not to embarrass himself in front of his younger sister. Kirit didn't expect that Karina would turn out to be Tamura's sister. Tamura explained that he was talking about Loki Sora, the best huntress in Japan. The hero said that he and Loki cannot live without each other, and it is something like a symbiosis. Tamura confirmed the suspicions that his sister and Kirita's relationship was too close. He asked Kirith to keep an eye on Loki during the battles. Suddenly, among the crowd of guests, Kirit saw twins. They were too young and wore hunters' costumes. The main character remembered that he needed to find the twins. They are the ones connected with Oda and this strange story. None of the guests pay attention to them, despite their strong mana. Kirit immediately rushed after them. Karina noticed his strange behavior. The suspected professors also noticed this. Kirit ran after them through several corridors. The twins quickly walked away from him through the emergency exit door. Luckily, the doors were unlocked, and Kirit stepped out onto the landing. Karina came out to him, concerned about his behavior. She thought he ran as if he sensed a monster. Kirit admitted that he simply imagined it because of the fuss over the problems. Karina suggested that she would take care of his problems herself. She admitted that she didn't come here just to guard the old man. She is interested in a dangerous organization that was being monitored by the CIA. She told about Aziz Malik, who is the leader of Mutlaq. This is a man who became a king by subjugating a country with the help of his ability. His ability allows him to control those he has killed. His personal army grows after every battle. This is how the terrorist organization Mutlaq emerged. They began to act just when Kirit was looking for the leader of all the masks. The dates of their activity and the symposium coincide, which means that one of the professors is involved. The twins that appeared during the presentation are also a clue. Professor Chan is speaking now, so it definitely isn't him. When the twins were born, Professor Steve was with Karina, so there is only one suspect left. At that moment, Professor Boris approached Kirit. He was concerned about the protagonist's behavior. At the same moment, a powerful explosion occurred in the room. Kurt felt awkward because he had taken so long to figure out what to do about Boris. Luckily, both he and Tamura survived the explosion. Inexperienced Tamura didn't understand what was happening. Kirit told him to sit quietly because it was dangerous here. Tamura looked around and realized that they were inside a dungeon. To be more precise, it is not a dungeon, but a cleverly made Eve. Kirit is already prepared for Professor Boris's further actions. With the help of special vision, he saw that monsters were approaching them. Tamura also heard terrifying sounds, and then about 100 zombies approached them. Kirit decided to think about the situation after he dealt with them. Professor Chan did not understand what kind of creatures these were. It was clear to everyone that these were living dead who appeared out of nowhere. Kirit realized that this was exactly what Karina was talking about. This is Aza's ability, which is called necromancy. The hero decided to deal with the dead, and ordered the captain to protect the civilians. Immediately, one of the zombies rushed at him. Thanks to his strengthened body, the hero repelled this attack. He smashed the mutant's head with Death's hand. A large crowd of strong zombies immediately rushed towards him. For them, Kirit had a red-hot sword of fire in reserve. With this sword, he killed more than 5 individuals in a second. Everyone was proud to have a SSS-class hunter by their side. According to Tamura, this hunter is too strong for this class. Even his sister is not on the same level as this young man. Unexpectedly, because of a couple of dead people, Kirit raised his level. He remembered that killing heretics gave much more experience than usual. Aziz, who controls the undead, is a heretic. This means that all his subordinates automatically receive this status. This situation was an unexpected bonus for Kirit. The protagonist asked those present to go to a safe place with Tamura. He trusted Captain Tamura with the lives of these people. He himself hastened to kill the remaining living dead. There were too many zombies this time. Kirit activated 271 mana points. Activation gave his ability a new property. Now the young man can throw fire mana like a shuriken. This made it possible to destroy all opponents even faster. Suddenly the hero heard someone calling for help. He immediately cleared a path for himself to check on the victim. It was Professor Chan, who was shaking with fear. He begged Kirith to lead him to safety. He promised the main character that he would not remain in debt to him. However, Kirit told him to join Tamura and the other gentlemen. A frightened Professor Chan wanted to stay with the SSS-class hunter. Kirit refused him and convinced him that it would be safer to follow Tamura. Tamura reassured the professor and promised to spare his life. Kirit must tear the mask off the criminal who arranged all this as soon as possible. Meanwhile, other professors were exploring the dungeon. Professor Steve concluded that it had opened due to a recent explosion. Steve was very excited and worried about his life. Karina, as one of the best hunters, promised him that she would protect him until the end. Steve knew she had killed several kaiju in her life and trusted her. He noticed that this dungeon was very different from the others. During his life as a professor, he saw many dungeons. In it, he found a stone that looked like an artificially created hologram. Karina wasn't surprised, because it was an artificially created Eve. Steve didn't understand how this girl knew about Eve. Karina dropped the conversation and told the old man to step back. Steve heard loud footsteps approaching them. A large crowd of zombies was moving towards them. Karina immediately activated the hunter suit. She was not averse to having fun with these nobodies. One of the zombie leaders rushed at her. The girl instantly left him without a head. She made several holes in the mutant's body. She seemed to be an excellent marksman. This was her favorite SSS class ability. Old man Steve was unhappy that the girl wasn't using any mana at all. According to him, all current hunters of such a high level use mana. But the girl also handled pistols very well. She killed zombies crowd after crowd. Her shots were heard in different directions. And then some high-level zombies snuck up on her. Karina immediately threw away her small pistols. She had a machine gun in reserve for this occasion. She opened fire with a burst and killed the zombie. In just half a minute, she managed to kill about 200 individuals. This task was not at all difficult for her. After these zombies, the dungeon boss came out to attack her. This is the first time Karina has encountered a monster of this size since Maxby. The monster emitted several types of mana and seemed invincible. Suddenly, the best hunter noticed that there were no bullets in her revolver. She thought she had forgotten to charge it the day before. The monster was creeping closer and closer to her. The overconfident giant made his first attack. However, something suddenly pushed him back. While searching for ammunition, Karina managed to create a protective barrier. Her powerful attacks and impenetrable defense amazed Professor Steve. He believed that it was not just called the walking artillery battery. And then Karina found cartridges covered in mana. They will help her defeat a monster of any size. Karina removed the protective barrier and opened fire. The giant instantly lost his head and was killed. The girl realized that it was not yet time to rejoice. She noticed that her old man Steve had not made any sounds for a long time. She turned around and saw that Steve was being held hostage by some monster. He demanded that Karina lower the weapon, but was immediately shot in the forehead. Karina realized that this man was on the same team as Aziz. Steve was worried that Karina might shoot him too. The deceased's tattoo indicates that he is a member of Mutlaq. Apparently, these people wanted to eliminate all the scientists at the symposium. Steve wanted Karina to save all the other scientists. Karina refused, stating that her mission was to protect the professor. Steve refused protection and asked to rescue his fellow researchers. The girl was glad that she could fight again without worrying about the old man. Meanwhile, the main character went out in search of the criminals. With the help of special vision, he noticed a stranger. He was greeted by Leo from the Masks group. Kirit reproached him for not even changing his voice. He asked Professor Boris to take off his mask. According to the young man, it was he. Lev admitted that the mask has long been a part of his personality. Kirit announced that today he would be calling his team Masquerade. He immediately heated up his fiery sword. However, Leo was confident only in his own victory. The protagonist knew that Masquerade's abilities were very different from his. The lion came here to destroy all obstacles like Kirit. Kirit is doing everything he can to prevent their team from existing. And now the enemy has made the first attack. Kirit carefully stepped aside and did not get hit by it. He immediately activated one of his best abilities. Leo didn't react to this halo at all. The young man realized that this man knew nothing about the promotion. The fight will end much faster than Kirit expected. And then the entire location lit up with flames of fire. Kirit lunged towards Leo and released flames. However, the fire flew close to Leo and did not touch him. The lion grabbed the red-hot sword with his bare hands. After that, he pulled Kirit back and hit him in the chest. Luckily, Kirit was able to stay on his feet. After a serious blow, he activated Mana Bombardment. Leo, in turn, activated an ability related to lightning. He hoped that this ability would destroy Kirit. The protagonist felt a strong difference in strength. It seemed to him that he was fighting not with one, but with several people. Then Lev showed Kirit the paranormal core. He devoted his entire scientific career to the creation of this masterpiece. The core is a fusion of the brains of 180 individuals. Kirit realized that Lev had killed the hunters and was using their abilities. Leo always wanted to explore not the system itself, but the hunters. With the support of the government, he destroyed hunters who broke the law. Kiritu can't withstand several hundred different abilities. Boris considered the young man to be an inexperienced monkey compared to him. He activated the core and promised Kirit a quick death. Now Kirit will feel the difference in their strength. The young man immediately felt a nasty feeling, as if all his strength was being sucked out of him. It was like a mana suppressor that Kirith knew how to handle. The lion did not expect the hunter to resist his abilities. Kirith struck him again with the flaming sword. He used combat skills and several types of enhancements. Kirith was ready to fight until the very end. Previously, Lev had expected the battle to last only a couple of minutes. Kirith forced him to use several abilities at once. On top of all this, Leo activated several defensive abilities. He understands that the enemy is not so weak. For this fight, Kirith prepared Death's Hand, Poison, and Mana Bombardment. And so the best abilities of the enemies were intertwined into one whole. A powerful explosion occurred in the location. The lion fell into the epicenter of the explosion, but survived thanks to the core. The core immediately activated regeneration and healing. Leo has several dozen types of restorative abilities. The protagonist intended to beat him so badly that there would be nothing left to repair. Meanwhile, Karina finished with the various zombies. Suddenly, a mass teleportation device fell at her foot. It moves physical objects to a specified point. Karina immediately understood how these monsters got here. Karina suddenly felt the collision of two streams of mana. The first stream probably belonged to Kirith. It is unknown who owns the second strange mana. Karina decided to see this man in person. Meanwhile, Leo activated various abilities using the core. Super regeneration and healing helped him to fully recover. It seems that the kernel has no limitations. Kirith realized that as long as the core worked, it could be used indefinitely. Leo gradually begins to bore him. With the help of the core, Leo used powerful destructive blows. Kirith responded with only his flaming sword. Leo realized that the young man had only one strong ability. Against the flame summoning, he had the ability Cold Blizzards and Icing. It started snowing right there in the location. Wherever Leo stepped, there was ice. Kirith's only weapon was also covered in ice. Lev declared that he had an answer to any of Kirith's abilities. However, Kirith was not sure of this. He activated the penetrating strike. It was the first time he had managed to land such a powerful attack on Leo. Leo almost lost control of the ability core. Kirith's blow caused blood to flow from his mouth. He had no answer for this hero's ability. It was an ability that the core could not take into account. The lion was healed and regenerated again. The battle between fire and ice continued in the location. Kirith did not give in to this experienced opponent. When Kirith refused to give up, Lev summoned his mana abilities. He believed that mana should be the final ability of this battle. But he was wrong, because he continued to use the core for a long time. Having summoned 100 abilities, the core exceeded the maximum threshold. Kirith decided that this was his only chance for a powerful attack. He activated the secret dash technique. It was with his help that he rushed forward and struck Leo. This did not bring any results to Kirith. Then he remembered the existence of spirituality. He wasted a third of his points on this ridiculous opponent. He would never have thought that Kirith had spirituality. With just one blow, the protagonist defeated Leo. At the same time, he increased his level several times. He gained the ability to quickly calculate and perform multiple calculations. An explosion occurred right there in the location. Kirith realized that the battle was not over yet. But suddenly he saw that it was Karina's doing. Karina demanded an explanation about their spirituality ability. She wondered where Kirith got it from. She hit the hero several times and asked who he was. Instead of answering, Kirith dealt her a powerful blow of fire. He began to suspect that Karina was Professor Boris's girlfriend. He was ready to reveal the secret if she could prove that she was not Boris's girlfriend. Karina clearly didn't like Kirith's insolence. She loaded the pistol and opened fire. Kirith barely managed to dodge the bullets. He activated one of his abilities and rushed at Karina. Karina couldn't believe she was going to see this with her own eyes. She barely managed to create a protective barrier against Kirith's attack. Its barrier protects against any kind of penetration. After Kirith calmed down, Karina opened fire again. Kirith caught all the bullets with his sword. His firepower and defense absorbed the girl's entire attack. Karina had to change the revolver and open fire again. The entire location was filled with small explosions and debris. The girl thought that the main character had died. She was sorry that she never found out who he was, but suddenly she felt that Kirith was still alive. His sword fell sharply at her feet. She realized that he was using it as bait. Kirith didn't need the sword because he had activated the promotion. Karina immediately recognized this ability. She had no idea that Kirith was something that all top hunters had. She thought Kirith was just showing off. She understood about the promotion, and Kirith understood that she was not in the masquerade. He announced that this was his way of attracting people from his past world. The girl said that there are also poisonous hornets here. One hunter from her world had already been killed by these creatures. Kirith announced that it was about Kushida Mamoru. Both heroes realized that they were not each other's enemies. Karina didn't want to finish and announced that she had created this Eve. Kirith didn't understand how anyone knew about Eve's existence. The girl again pounced on him with questions about promotion and spirituality. Kirith whispered Kushu's name to her. The girl fell silent and lowered the gun. Kirith continued that Kushu created the promotion and used it in battle. Karina didn't believe that this man was pretending to be one of the 8 heroes. Even then, Kirit realized that in front of him was the same girl from the past. It also dawned on Karina that this man was one of them. He certainly doesn't look like Kruger or Tiger. After all the calculations, Karina realized that this was the past Arden. In the main character's past life, his name was indeed Arden. Kirit said that Kushu always slept to his lullabies. After he sang one of them, the girl threw away the weapon. Karina threw herself into his arms with particular warmth. Kirit thought he had lost everything. He lost his homeland and friends in that dying world, and he had nothing left. He is happy that he was wrong, because now one of his dearest people is next to him. All of Kirita's thoughts returned to the past, where there was a war. Only one girl survived from his team. She told him Arden to be strong. She wanted him to be the winner of this battle. It was Elena who was with him until the end. The picture changed and Kirit saw that Elena had given up. She asked the main character to survive, and she took on all the monsters. A couple of minutes later, the main character fell into the abyss. He was upset that he was never able to survive. Everything he ever tried to protect ended up destroyed. Before him lies the end that he simply has to accept. But suddenly an energy sword fell next to him. It was the once missing queen's killer. The hero realized that this was help from the deceased Elena. However, he had no reason to continue living in this world. There was no one left in this world that he cared about. Apparently, death will be his salvation. For several more days, he continued to fight the monsters. He was not afraid to engage in battle with them, because he was ready to die. He was driven by only one desire. He does all this for one single purpose. He wanted to destroy the head of the Overlord invasion group. We were talking about that very queen. It seemed like the queen of the monsters was invincible. The hero fought with her with the last of his strength. The queen didn't give him any chance to win. And now Arden delivered his most powerful blow. He was able to pierce the queen's chest. Arden realized that he would still defeat her in the name of his friends. It was some kind of vague memory from Kirit's past life. Kirit told Karina about him, and she rushed to hug him. She was glad that he finally returned to this world with her. They had a romantic relationship in the past. Suddenly, Steve came to them and interrupted the conversation. Kirit called him to show him something interesting. He showed him what was left after the battle with the criminal. It was a paranormal core that was created by Professor Boris. Kirit was ready to give it to Steve for any high price. He was simply interested in obtaining the technology to create a paranormal core. He gave Steve the core without receiving a penny in return. He asked that this conversation and the situation remain secret. The joyful old man rushed home to conduct research on the core. Karina needed to follow him, and Kiri suggested that they meet later. They exchanged numbers and said goodbye. In the end, things aren't all that bad for Kirit in this world. He did not lose everyone and met the dearest person from the past. A little later, the action takes place on a ship near the coastal defense line. An emergency situation arose on board. The sailors noticed that a large amount of energy was coming from the depths. Presumably, the rift gates opened, and then a powerful stream of water burst forth straight from the depths. The ship's captain raised the alarm along the entire coastline and called in hunters. He didn't believe that a rift had suddenly appeared in the middle of the ocean. He didn't even imagine that he was in the depths of the ocean. Meanwhile, Kirith returned to Lokasora. The girl sniffed him suspiciously and asked where he had been. After the terrorist attack at the symposium, she was worried about his life. Kirit quipped and replied that he appreciated her concern. Loki had already heard rumors that Kirit was dating Karina. Local news has been reporting about this for several days now. Their conversation was interrupted by Mary's appearance. Kirit asked her not to barge into his room and not to interfere in the conversation. Mary announced that she had finally managed to wake up. This morning she gained 5 abilities at once. Mary has already applied for the Hunter's entry exam. She wanted to join the Kirit Guild. Kirit refused her, but Mary saw no reason for this. The hero believed that even with the new powers, the guild was beyond Mary's capabilities. Suddenly, Loki Sora interrupted the conversation between Kirit and Mary. She was informed that a rift had opened in the middle of the ocean in Osaka. All hunters were urgently summoned to Osaka. Mary appealed to Kirit's pity by remembering her dead brother. She believed that Ren, if he hadn't died, would have been in the Kirit Guild a long time ago. The main character promised to take her into the guild if she was the best on the exam. Mary had no doubts about her abilities. Meanwhile, incredible events were taking place at the port in Osaka. The emerging rift filled the sailors with wild terror. Many ships stopped due to the threat. The protagonist's guild arrived to help the Bane Guild. He was told that a water tornado was moving monsters from the bottom to the surface. Time goes by and there are more and more monsters. Kirit asked to take his team to where the other guild was located. The Bane Guild is at the center of events, and there is no way to help them. Kirit ordered his subordinates to join this guild. He said that he himself, together with Loki Sora, would go to deal with the monsters. Loki had a lightning ability that was very effective against water creatures. There was complete chaos on the Bane Guild ship. The hunters waited for reinforcements from the shore, and then Kushida Shin came to their aid. They shouted at him to be as careful as possible. Kushida turned around and saw 100 monsters reaching out to him. He immediately used the ability of the steel body. He covered his body with armor that could not be pierced by tentacles. In just a minute, he destroyed all the monsters. All this time, Finn was supporting him. After this, the young man used mass healing and healed the hunters. The Bane Guild did not believe that this young man was capable of healing wounds en masse. This new power, although small, inspired all the hunters. And yet the rumors were true. Every member of this guild is worse than any monster. The heroes shocked everyone with their skills. Another batch of monsters flew out of the ocean towards them. Kushida is confident that this fight will not last long, and all because brother Kirith is about to join them. Meanwhile, Kirith took Loki onto his shoulders. Together they carefully moved to the very epicenter. It all looked like jumping over the heads of monsters. At the right moment, Kirith launched Loki forward. The girl needs to stretch the mana like a thread, then twist and squeeze it. And at the very end, she needs to pierce the monster with mana. This is how the girl managed to stop a tornado of enormous power. The strength of the SS rank hunters surprises everyone present. Loki alone was able to defeat a tornado that even the guilds couldn't take on. The monsters stopped moving from the depths. Kirito managed to behead all the monsters in that place at that time. After that, something scary and big flew out towards them. Looks like there's one last monster left. It was something like a huge octopus. Only its tentacles reached the clouds. Kirith immediately grabbed his weapon. Looking at the tentacle, Loki imagined the size of this monster. This monster is about to fly out straight at her from below. Loki barely managed to dodge him. She and Kirith were able to cut off one of the tentacles, but only the tentacles come to the surface. The monster's body remains under the water. One of the tentacles flew straight at the heroes. The sailors were worried that the hunters would die. The monster carried the heroes on its back for several dozen meters. Loki was ordered to protect civilians. He is ready to deal with the monster on his own. The jokes were over, and the monster decided to break out. This monster is named Neen. It is several dozen times larger than Kirith. For the real battle, Kirith activated 3 abilities at once. Each powerful shot fired by the monster has a long range. However, Kirito is quite easy to dodge them. In this battle, the hero decided to test a new ability. He received it after the execution of Dr. Boris. Multi-layer action can only be used in one way now. Kirith activated Flame Embodiment, Martial Arts, and Magic. The new ability releases unquenchable flames in all directions. It should be enough to defeat the water monster. And so Kirith made the first attack with this ability. The main flame passed only tangentially to the monster's body. Kirith realized that he hadn't put enough mana into the attack. He saw that the octopus wanted to escape during the pause. However, the monster was heading towards the coastline. The hunters must stop him at all costs. The octopus approached the shore and opened its toothy mouth. A poisonous sphere flew out of his mouth. It burst and infected the entire space. It was like the acidic saliva of a monster. The hunters immediately felt ill. They had hope when they saw Kirith. The protagonist reported to them that they should leave the shore immediately. At that moment, the octopus jumped and created waves. Tears appeared in the eyes of all the hunters. People realized that they were going to die now. The monster created powerful waves. These waves threatened the safety of the entire city. To save him, Kirith used a secret technique. He called this technique Sea Split. The hunters hoped that this would help them escape. A minute later, the ocean wave was stopped. The rescued hunters were grateful to Kirith for his help. The hero told them to go to a safe place. He himself activated the fire sword and continued to fight the monster. He used the one-step technique. There were about 100 threads of mana around him. Kirith cut through several of the monster's tentacles at once. The subsequent blow killed the octopus. The hunters admired the strength of the protagonist. Kirith cut the monster into 2 parts. Loki Sora was worried about his condition all this time. The hero did not show that he was seriously injured. Loki still saw a bleeding wound on his body. Finn happily healed his guildmaster. When using the new ability, Kirith lost his guard. This resulted in him being seriously injured. After the battle, journalists pressed him for details. Kirith refused them because he was in a hurry for Mary's exam. Suddenly he was stopped by Major Uno from the Hunter Control Unit. He took Kirith with him for a serious talk. Loki stood up for him, explaining that the hero was seriously tired after the battle. The agency is a government agency. For disobedience, Kirith's team will face consequences, as will the Bane Guild. Kirith reassured Loki that he couldn't avoid talking to Uno anyway. He soon arrived at the office of the Hunter Control Agency. Kara was angry that the commander ordered Kirith to be brought here. She said her previous boss resigned because of the terrorist attack at the symposium. He took full responsibility for this, although he was not guilty of anything. Kara is talking about the current commander Sukagawa. Because of his position, he does whatever he wants with the hunters. Most likely, he wants to shut down the Bane Guild and the small guild of Kirith. Major Uno entered the room and scolded Kara for turning off the recorder. Kara left, and the commander started talking about the underage Mary who lives with Kirit. The hero explained to him that he was not doing anything illegal towards her. He got angry and asked to invite the senior manager, but Uno announced that he was not at work. Kirit decided to end the interrogation since the boss was not there. This act of the hero angered the major even more. Major Uno told Kirit to sit down, but he didn't care at all. The young man left the interrogation room and his path was immediately blocked. This was the same Mr. Sukagawa that Kara had spoken of. Kirit reproached him for not coming to him for questioning. He became angry and released mana onto Sukagawa's form. The hero believed that Sukagawa deserved to be beaten for his arrogance. He grabbed him by the collar and struck him several times. None of the officers expected such a turn of events. None of them dared to say a word to Kirit either. Then a man entered the building and told the hero to calm down. Kirit finished with Sukagawa and stopped. The gentleman introduced himself as Sawada, head of the National Security Agency. He personally, without the attention of the government, came to resolve this situation. He is ready to make a deal with Kirit so that he will forget about what happened. Sawada did not want to give Kirit free rein. America gave Karina unlimited freedom of action. SSS-ranked hunters from other countries also have complete freedom. Kirit announced that in such a case he would consider emigrating to another country. Sawada does not give Kirit freedom because his rank is not legally confirmed. Kirit threatened the government to give him what he wanted. He is willing to cooperate through his agent, Major Tachibana Kara. At the end of the conversation, Kirit hit Major Uno. The blow sent Uno flying into the far classroom, breaking 3 walls. Kirit took revenge on him for the whole situation today. Both Sawada and Kara had nothing to say to him about it. Kirit left the department and Loki and her brother Captain Tamura were waiting for him. The girl was worried about this incident with the agency. Tamura said the Hunters Association was also unhappy with the agency's behavior. No one can treat Japan's #1 SSS-ranked hunter like that. After the agency, the hero went to the Hunter Exam Center. Kirit caught Mary when she was already talking to journalists. He didn't make it to the start of the exam because of the control agency. The girl, with tears in her eyes, admitted that she had passed the test. She became the hunter with the highest score. Mary is completely unaware of what she is signing up for. Kirit kept his word and took her into his guild. From this day on, his guild has 4 members. Meanwhile, Karina held a meeting of her teammates. She announced that the topic for discussion was Kiritani Sour. However, many team members did not want to talk about it. Karina said that he would soon become one of them. All the hunters suddenly became silent at this news. Kirit did not impress South Korea's Kim Yuna at all. Ivanov from Russia would not have called Kirit the best hunter so hastily. Moden Jeff and the English royal family doubt the hero's rank. Chinese woman Chen Bai simply succumbed to the herd's indignation. Karina didn't like that they were belittling the one who was the best hero in that life. She invited the hunters to meet him in person. She believed that they couldn't even stand next to someone like him. The next day, Mary arrived at her first guild. Finn and Kashida happily accepted her into their team. Finn treated her like a little sister. Kashida immediately began to show her signs of attention. Finn calmed him down and began to threaten Kirit, who introduced himself as her half-brother. Kirit himself was away on important business, so he missed Mary's arrival. Meanwhile, Kirit, in the company of Kara, dealt with the criminals. The girl reproached him for going too far after receiving complete freedom. Kirit knew that Kara would not mind if he got rid of such trash. One of the criminals announced that serious people were behind him. At that moment, he immediately rushed at Kirit with his fists. The hero carefully stepped aside and missed the blow. He noticed that the guy had the skill of increased magical power. It seems he is more than just a small fry. The man announced that he was not going to fight and would simply run away from there. He activated the acceleration skill, and Kirit immediately interrupted him. He abruptly pushed the man to the floor and began threatening to kill him. The victim reported that Kirit would not get away with it. There are really serious people behind him. In fact, Kiritu was curious about what kind of people they were talking about. He began to beat the man to make him at least say his name. He knew that naming the name was forbidden by the rules of the masquerade. This person is either part of this gang or part of a human trafficking organization. In any case, this man deserves to die. With his kill, Kirith gained a level up and new abilities. He received the rank of Punisher and Magic Devourer. Despite the rough fight, Kirith saw an increase in his magical power. The hero began to think that this man was still connected with the masquerade. That same evening, the masquerade gathered all its members. In such a short time, they lost 2 people at once. They were afraid that they would be next after Butterfly and Lion. The leader announced that the 2 empty seats would be occupied by twins. He believes that they deserve it based on their abilities. Hawk believed that they needed to resolve the issue with Kirit as soon as possible. The team leader told everyone to lie low and left the meeting. After he left, Lizard told Hawk to take care of the new members. Everyone thought that he should be the one raising the twins. The The tiger gave him this task and also left. He arrived in his room via teleportation. These heroes are only allowed to remove their masks at home. Behind the mask was the charming Chang Hualin, the owner of Dalan. She believed that Leo and Butterfly died because of stupid research. Suddenly, she received a message that her subordinates had lost their geolocation signal. These people always sent her test subjects for her research. Strange individuals infiltrated the base and dealt with its subordinates. Only one person with such abilities came to Chan's mind. It was said that this person has the rank of SS and above. Suddenly, an unexpected guest arrived to see the Tiger Girl. According to Chan, it was Leo who lost his honor at the symposium. However, the CEO of her company, Delona, entered the room. It was Chang Wen, her father. He said that he sent people to investigate, but nothing was found in Boris's house. He is sure that Karina was involved in the explosion incident. Chan was angry that her father was of no use to her. She wanted to remove him from his position as CEO. With the team gone, she won't be able to get any new test subjects, and her father could become one of them. Chan reproached him for making his company the top one in China. Chan advised the old man not to engage in all sorts of nonsense and to get his mind right. Chang saw a photo of Kirit on his daughter and immediately recognized him. The girl declared that this man was creating unnecessary problems for them. Chang thought it was too dangerous to cross him, as he was almost at CCC rank. The daughter told the old man not to impose his pathetic opinion. She asked him to do as he was told, and not to come up with anything else. Eventually, Chan ended the conversation and became angry. She was angry because she was surrounded by useless trash. She felt that those people had taken away the core that Lev had created. She believed that these people did not realize its importance. In the near future, she wanted to destroy Kirit before he was awarded SS rank. The next day, the Kirit Guild set out on a voyage. Kirit spent the entire flight watching interviews. This was an interview with Kane, who is the most powerful hunter in the world. Kane didn't consider himself one, and was sure that someone would soon appear who would take his place. Rumor has it that he knows there is a hunter who is about to surpass him. Kirith was inspired by the achievements of this hunter, Kane Bruce. He feels like he's been down the same path as Kane. Kirit, I would like to meet with him and discuss this issue. Suddenly he noticed that Finn was acting very strangely. The protagonist regretted not leaving him in the guild. Earlier, Tamura congratulated Mary on joining the guild. He also conveyed an invitation to Kiritu from the hunter Karina. This was not an invitation to a personal meeting. Looking at the tickets, Kirit realized that other hunters of this rank would be present. He was invited to a meeting to assess his potential as an 8th ranker. Tamura explained that the other rankers weren't particularly happy with Kirit. Kirit knew Karina's character very well. She wants him to demonstrate his power to them personally. The Kirit Guild is heading to Las Vegas. Kashida and Mary thought they were going there to have fun. Karina asked to take all the members with her. How Kirit would not regret it. He noticed that something was wrong with Finn. Finn explained that he was fine. He was just thinking. He once shared that he left his previous guild because of an incident. Kirit suggested that he go back to Japan. But Finn believes that he is simply obliged to accompany his master. Even though he says so, his facial expression remains the same. Kirit hopes that everything will go well. Soon the heroes arrived in Las Vegas. Kirita was met by cutie Karina, who started hugging him. Mary jealously asked her to move away from him. Karina reproached her for not being mature enough to speak like that. Kashida decided to intervene in the situation. However, almost immediately he received a punch in the face from Finn. Karina and Kirit arrived to the high-ranking hunters. The hero noticed that Kane Bruce was missing. The hunters must choose who will fight Kirith. Kim found the perfect place for this. The conversation was about the casino. Karina wanted to see a duel of forces among those present. Kim is able to see into the future for several seconds. This ability can be demonstrated through play. Kim wants to use her abilities openly and is not opposed to others doing the same. Kirit noted that this would be much more interesting. Whoever has the most chips will challenge Kiritani at the end. But this is quite a serious test, so everyone needs to make maximum efforts. Kim asked the heroes to use everything they could. Karina and Ivanov saw no point in challenging Kirit. The dealer began dealing cards. All participants need to place bets. Kim immediately went all in. He decided to do this because of his ability to foresee the future. In the game, heroes choose 2 cards, and the one whose number is closest to 21 wins. There is an unspoken rule that if you bet everything, you are sure of your victory. If this continues, Kim Yunu will win, not Kirit. By going all in, he only increased the psychological tension between these players. The winners of the round were Mr. Kim Yunwoo and Ms. Chen Baijin. It's time for Kiritu to use the new ability he received after defeating the boss Waylon. At that moment, he didn't even pay attention to her, thinking that she wouldn't be useful. The Eye of Wealth can see the flow of money. This time the hero has 19 points, so there shouldn't be any problems. The winners of this round were Mr. Kim Yonwoo and Mr. Kiritani. Thanks to this ability, Kim continues to win every round. but Eye of Wealth can rival it if other players don't use more powerful abilities. Kim reproached the ranker for cheating in such an obvious way. Ranker Jeff took the pass in this round. Chen Baijin followed his example. These two don't even try to win. Kim believed that Kirit would not cheat, because his intelligence could be compared to that of a monkey. The main character got angry because of this statement. Karina didn't support Kirit at all. The young man decided to use multiple analysis to win. He took the Eye of Wealth, Super Effort, and Martial Arts and created a new ability. Midas Touch C rank creates a better opportunity depending on the magic invested. With the new ability, luck was not long in coming. Kirito immediately rolled 21 points. The winner of this round was Mr. Kurita. Kiritani also emerged victorious in the subsequent rounds. He had blackjack 5 times in a row. Karina scoffed that Kim's luck had run out. This time I had exactly 20 points. He took another risk and went all in. Kirit won because he had blackjack in his hand. It looks like he has won the test. He hid his true abilities from the very beginning. Even with his vision of the future, Kim couldn't overcome it. In any case, even with his vision of the future, he could not overcome it. Kirit has won and can choose who to fight. He chooses all the hunters present. The other hunters clearly didn't want to fight him. Karina did not expect such a turn of events. She announced that there would be a serious battle tomorrow. 4 world rankers will face off against the promising hunter Kiritani. The fight will take place exactly at midnight. The next day at 10 o'clock, everyone arrived at the gathering place. In addition to the participants, spectators from various guilds also arrived. Mary didn't want Kirit to fight 4 top rankers at the same time. She considered it too dangerous. Kirit knew that he could handle everyone without any difficulty. May asked him to surrender if his life was in danger. Kirit promised her this. Japan's best huntress, Loki Sora, also arrived for the duel. Kirit was unable to talk to her because he was interrupted by Karina's appearance. Loki was seriously worried about who this girl was. After Kirit's explanation, she realized that she knew her. She had never imagined that the second most powerful huntress in the world could be so cheeky. Karina realized that Loki was showing signs of attention to Kirit. She explained that this young man belonged only to her. She left the conversation and continued her fun. Finn invited Kirit for a private conversation. He wanted to discuss his past with him. Before he met Kirit, he worked for the American Gilded Bracelet Guild. On that fateful day, an important mission was planned. He was part of the first offensive group. Problems began when his magical core became unstable. The hospital refused to admit that what happened was due to instability of the magical core. Finn was at odds with the hunter who died. This hunter was the son of the guild leader. Everyone in the guild began to suspect Finn of deliberately taking the boy's life. Also present at this party are members of the Gilded Bracelet Guild. In fact, Finn didn't wish death on anyone. Kirith asked him what he thought of the Kirith Guild. Finu felt very comfortable in it. A rowdy brother and a tomboyish younger sister don't make her any worse. Kirit reassured him, saying that he completely believed his story. The conversation ended on a pleasant note. Kirit noticed that the huntress was eavesdropping on them. Huntress Chen Baijin came to warn him. Kirit must not lose this fight, otherwise his life will be in danger. Kirit took this as a threat. The girl just wanted to warn him. Judging by her look, the young man should be afraid of someone else, not her. He decided to find out more about her, naming the butterfly and the lion from Masquerade. But she didn't understand them, and apparently she wasn't a member of the Masquerade. Chen thought that Kirit was testing her. Kirit explained to her that there was no murderous intent in her eyes. However, she still came and warned him. He decided that she was being threatened or manipulated. Chen said that as long as she was tied up, she wouldn't be able to tell him anything. Kirit doesn't understand what's going on among the rankers. The members of the Gilded Bracelet Guild didn't understand what Finn was doing there. Finn took Isla's younger brother Jeff away from her. She promised that today he would answer for everything he had done. But if Kirit stands up for him, then these people won't be able to do anything. Tonight at midnight, Kiritani participates in a battle between 4 rankers. He will have no time to worry about others. At this time, Kirit was resting before the fight. And here comes the first enemy. His first opponent will be Kim Yun-woo. He prepared iron balls for the duel. He hoped that Kirit wouldn't die in his sleep. He launched a couple of iron balls at the hero. Iron balls bounced off the ground. It seemed like there were several of them, but Kim only launched 2 iron balls. Kim appreciated that the hero was doing a good job of evading them. Kiritu thought it was as easy as pie. He had simply inhuman speed. He felt that the ranker's powers were not good enough. This time Kim released 10 balls at once. It seemed to him that the hero was standing still and not moving. He didn't understand what he was doing wrong. Kirit's high speed makes it seem like the hero is simply standing there. Kim decided to use his vision of the future to predict its movements. However, he could not concentrate for a long time. Kirit suddenly stopped and prepared to attack. He activated his mana and rushed forward. Kim was confident only in his victory. Kim responded with another blow at Kirit, but the hero disappeared. Even using this ability, he still loses. The iron ball bounced off the wall and returned to its owner. Kim was pierced through and through by it. This meant the victory of the protagonist. Kim flew into the wall and was exhausted. Kirit immediately grabbed his face to prevent him from regenerating. Kim felt like all the magic was being sucked out of him. Kirit simply put him to sleep so that he wouldn't interfere with him fighting the other rankers. After that, he threw it at the wall. He only has 3 rankers left to fight. It's time for Kirit to move to the next floor. The second opponent was Ivanov from Russia. He immediately realized that Kim Yunu had lost after all. Ivanov grew in height due to his ability. Kirit announced to him that this time he did not even take a weapon with him. Ivanov declared it a mistake and took aim at Kirit. The hero managed to jump back, and the blow hit the floor. In fact, Kirit had intended such a quick attack. He turned around and hit the big guy in the face with all his might. Ivanov trembled and flew back to the wall. This attack provoked him to use mana. However, the main character saw all his actions in advance. He, like no one else, can withstand any magical attack. He assessed that the enemy's strength was much greater than Kim's. This time he has to dodge not balls, but direct punches. So far, Ivanov hasn't hit the hero even once. However, Kirit was able to deal him some good damage. Ivanov insisted that there was no way to defeat him in close combat. He unleashed a stream of mana at Kirit, but the hero deflected it with one hand. He repelled absolutely all attacks of this brute. In addition, he could deliver accurate blows to the head. And then, a few minutes later, Ivanov fell to the floor. Previously, he was confident that this battle would be on his side. He followed Kim in losing again. Even his gigantism did not save him from failure. And then the feather of the third opponent flew out towards Kirit. The young man immediately realized that the ranker would use magic. A bird flew over him, which is the summoner's ability. The enemy informed Kirit that he would not fight him. Instead, he prepared the lazy eagle from the summoning ability. It is he who will confront Kirit. In addition, Jeff activated the updrafts. Another of Jeff's creatures, a dragon with horns, appeared from the floor. Kirit didn't expect to have 2 opponents at once in this fight. In fact, he expected something majestic. In the end, he saw a colossus that could not take a step without an order from its owner. The young man immediately climbed onto this summoned creature. He wasn't particularly intimidated by its size. The monster tried to grab Kirit, but he dodged it in time. He climbed on top of him and started hitting him. One of the monster's horns flew off to the side. Kirit caught it and returned it to its owner. The horn pierced the giant monster's body completely. After this, Kirit decided to use fire mana. He released a stream and cut the monster's throat. The monster's head immediately flew off, and the magical soul flew out of its body. Jeff was sad that his monster went down without a victory. Kirit suggested that Jeff continue the fight. The man decided to stop because he couldn't fight without summoning creatures. Before leaving, he gave Kirit one piece of practical advice. He asked Kirit to be careful in the fight against Chen Baijin. Kirit knows that the girl is the best hunter in China, skilled in long-range combat. Someone's arrow flew towards Kirit. He managed to catch her in time. Kirit didn't expect the third opponent to appear right during the showdown with the second. He immediately figured out where Chen was. Chen Baijin is a CCC rank. It is located in the Mead Resort, located 50 kilometers from Las Vegas. If Kirit hadn't noticed that arrow, it could have killed him. He used a secret technique to run to Chen. It was a lightning dash technique. While he was running, one of the arrows flew at him. Looks like Kirit will have to fight them off on the move. To do this, he activated the Ash Blade. The blade did a good job of this task, and so Kirit arrived at the place where Chen was. He concentrated all his mana to avoid being accidentally hit by an arrow. Chen thought he was a complete fool. No hunter would have come so close to her. She believed that he himself allowed her to kill him so easily. She fired an arrow, but Kirit easily parried it. He ran to a distance to cut the arrow in half. The girl did not believe that this young man had such power. Kirit was a couple of meters away from Chen. Chen knew that her death was about to come. Kirit has met many good people in his life. He remembered that conversation with Chen, and that there was no killing intent in her eyes. That evening, the girl herself warned him about the danger. Therefore, the hero decided to save her life. He gave her a light blow. He'll have to return with a wounded Chen, and Karina certainly won't appreciate it. But Kirit believes that this will be more humane. He can't kill Chen in this game fight. Meanwhile, the Gilded Bracelet Guild surrounded Finn. The hero did not understand what these people wanted from him. Ayla declared that he couldn't erase his sins simply by changing guilds. She announced to the public that he was her brother's killer. The guild members seized the opportunity when Kirit was unable to come to Finn's aid. Everyone was ready to destroy the traitor right now. Finn realized that this had been planned in advance. Of all the people, only Ayla was damn mad at him. Finn explained to her that he was not to blame for the accident. Ayla said that she would also call this murder an accident. She wanted to avenge her brother's death. Finu was offended that he was being accused of this, and so the girl entered into battle with him. Finn doesn't have a single chance of winning. If it had been a one-on-one fight, he would have handled it. But now he is surrounded by a crowd of armed opponents. And then one of them made a precise blow and wounded Finn. It happened because he was distracted by the number of people. The leader of the battle announced that Finn would now die. Before he died, Finn thought only of Kiritani. And then Mary rushed to his aid and fought off the attacker. She sent Finn a message from Kirit. Kirit conveyed to Finn that since joining the guild, his problems have become common ones. And so the attackers took out their pistols and pointed them towards Mary. The shooting started, and Mary definitely could not survive. She was just unlucky enough to be in a guild with an assassin. But suddenly Isla noticed that her attack had failed. 2 living silhouettes appeared from the cloud of dust. Kashida Shin joined the heroes. Isla ordered her subordinates to get rid of all 3. Mary had all her mana to counter them. She immediately released it at the attackers and caused serious damage. About 5 people were killed in the attack. Then Isla set her sights on Finn himself. Her subordinates did not want to leave him any chance of survival. Luckily, Kirit arrived at that moment. He saved his subordinate from the hands of villains. Finn was proud that Kirit had personally dealt with his ill-wishers. Isla didn't understand what Kirit was doing there during the fight with the rankers. Kirit said that his fights went by too quickly. The girl couldn't believe that he was the winner in all 4 fights. The main character was able to deal with all 4 rankers. Hunter Ivanov from Russia did not last even 2 minutes in the fight. Hunter Jeff surrendered himself. Chen made a completely stupid mistake. Isla couldn't understand how Kirit alone was able to deal with the world's strongest hunters. Karina appeared here and explained everything to her. She accused Ayla of attacking her guests with her guild. The guild can only address its grievances to the Hunters Association. Karina asked Kirit to leave, as she wanted to deal with Ayla's team herself. The hero realized that the past had returned to Karina. He knew her as Kusha, who always stands up for her people. After a few moments, Chen came to her senses. She didn't understand where she was, or why Kirit was standing next to her. She was handcuffed to the bed. She had clearly forgotten what had happened a few hours ago. Kirit quickly tried to restore her memory. He recalled how he felt sorry for her and gave her a light blow. He also accused her of contemplating killing him. Karina was angry at her friend for such an act. Chen didn't understand what was happening. Then Kirit explained that Chen did not want him dead. He knew that someone else was eager for this, and he began to interrogate Chen. Chen didn't want to go into details because she had already lost to Kirit. Kirit asked to tell her what was happening in exchange for saving her. He knew that someone was manipulating the girl. Karina kindly asked her friend to open up to them completely. The girl was afraid to tell what was bothering her. Kirit realized that her loved one was being held hostage. Then Chen silently lowered her eyes, and everyone understood everything. She was afraid to name this villain. All her actions showed that the hero was right. Actually, it all started 10 years ago. It all happened in the year when Chen awakened. But even new strength did not bring her happiness. After she woke up, her brother was lying in a hospital bed fighting for his life. Thanks to her work as a hunter, Chen covered all her medical bills. One day, the boss of Dalin's company bought out the entire hospital, taking her brother hostage. Karina knew that this influential company was run by Chang Wen. Chen explained to them that in reality, his daughter, Chang Hualin, was in charge of everything. Karina suggested that Chen contact the authorities of her country and ask for help. However, it is in the authorities' interest to pursue Dalin's case. That's why they refused and won't help Chen. The government is always looking for all possible ways to control only hunters. Chang is too influential a person, and Chen does not dare to go against her. Even belonging to the SSS rank won't save her. Kirit promised her that he would help get her brother out. The girl warned him that Brother Chun could not last outside the cereal cabinet. For this case, Kirit has his own method. He showed Chen his ability. He had a nerve pill that would dull any symptoms for a day. He has 30 of these pills, so there will be enough time for salvation. For now, Kirito was confused by the fact that he had not yet been officially declared a ranker. For the showdown, he was planning to fly to China, where ranker status was required. They need to deal with this situation as soon as possible. Karina decided to help Kirit and lent him her plane. The very next day, Kirito's company was flying over China. Karina personally delivered him to the right place. For now, Chen was doubtful of his help. She was sure that this plane had not received permission to land. At the same moment, the doors and hatches of the plane opened. The hero grabbed the girls and invited them to jump down. A second later, he made the jump without waiting for the girls' consent. In hostage rescue, speed is the most important factor. Now Chen must lead the team to the right place. First, Kirit will get the hunter's brother out, and then deal with the Dalin leaders. A couple of minutes later, they arrived as directed by Chen. Chen was not allowed to go forward without Ms. Chang, but the girl managed to find an excuse. The main character and Karina seemed suspicious to the security. Kirit didn't bother to figure it out and hit the guard in the face. Karina immediately activated the pistol. She explained to Chen that they had no time to chat with the guards, as speed was important. Upon entering the hospital, Chen quickly found Chun. She immediately gave him some pills to relieve the symptoms. Karina told Chen and her brother to run to the helicopter. She and Kirit can handle this on their own. The priority at the moment is to move the hostages to a safe place. Kirit must have miscalculated somewhere, as they were met by Chan's subordinates. For this occasion, the hero activated explosives from Mana. The group of thugs suddenly flew up to the ceiling. Kirit caught them and delivered several precise blows. He cleared the way for Chen and her brother. Karina asked the girl to be on the alert in case Chan appeared. Chen disappeared from the scene, and Kirit and Karina need to wait for all the villains. They went to the upper floors to find Chang Hualin's office. For the upcoming battle, Karina activated the shotgun. She fired this shotgun and broke through the ceiling. So the heroes quickly found themselves at the right room. They need to hurry before Chan takes action. They entered the room and saw complete devastation. Apparently, the girl still managed to escape. At the place of escape, Karina discovered a fracture. Boris used the same thing during the symposium. Karina decided to immediately invade the space of Chan, the Eve Rift. And so the heroes moved using the portal. Ahead of them, they saw a true national defense base. It was clear that Chan had invested a lot of money into this. Suddenly, cannons appeared from the walls, aimed at the heroes. From the highest tower came the greeting of Chang Hualin. Chang Hualin heard that Chen had confessed everything to the heroes. She reproached Kirit and Karina for being too stupid. They came here just the two of them. In this area, they are just bugs. Chan promised that they would leave this place, but dead. Kirit suggested to his friend that they fight shoulder to shoulder. In the past, the two of them had never lost a minor battle. Seeing their commotion, Chan activated the cannons. Karina immediately discovered a military railgun. She immediately rushed to repel all attacks. Thanks to her, Kirit was able to dodge and escape. Karina knew that this model had been discontinued in the USA. It was unclear where Chan got this expensive equipment from. These dangerous toys can easily destroy Kirit and Karina. So far, the main character has not activated any abilities. He decided to first deal with the traps, and then go on the offensive. Fire is everywhere, and so he activated the fire sword. This sword allowed him to destroy all dangerous toys. Chan asked him not to do this, as she had more than 1,000 of them in stock. It just didn't make sense to the protagonist, and so Chan opened fire from all installations at once. When the first shot was fired, Kirit disappeared in time. He increased the distance to activate the Ashen Blade. With its help, he skillfully repelled all the shells. The shells were the size of those fired from an infantry fighting vehicle. Despite his abilities, Kiritu was quite scared. Only Karina's support helped him. Karina was able to destroy the remaining missiles with her shots. Chan didn't think she would be visited by such experienced guests. Kirit sees no point in dragging out this fight. He asked Karina to cover for him. He himself went into close combat with Chan. Noticing this, Chan fired a new batch of her projectiles at him. Kirit told her that she was completely underestimating him. Karina specializes in firearms. She has some equally dangerous toys in stock, and even some more serious ones. And then Karina opened her deadly fire. This allowed Kirit to gain time and approach Chan. He declared his victory. After that, he asked the heroine of Masquerade to tell him everything about her team. In response to this, the girl released poisonous gas at him. At that very moment, the hero felt himself leaving that space. Perhaps this is all an illusion. And then he saw that very figure from the past. Elena from the past told Kirit that she was very glad to see him in this world. The hero asked her not to pretend to be another person. At the same time, he dealt her a serious blow to the face. The girl didn't understand why her beloved friend was beating her. Kirit accused her of being Chang Hualin. This girl will definitely regret taking this look. Karina also appeared in this space. The heroes suddenly heard pleas for help from Elena. Elena decided that someone had taken control of Kirit. Karina didn't understand that this was all an illusion. Kirit told her to take out her gun and start shooting. The illusion was immediately dispelled and Chan was wounded. Kirit announced to her that this time it was all over. He just wanted to kill her because she wouldn't tell him anything. Karina asked him to stop because she could extract the necessary information from her. To do this, Kirit tried to calm the girl down. Within a second, Chan was completely calm. In this state, she will be able to answer a maximum of 3 questions. It was important for Kirit to know what the purpose of the masquerade was. Masquerade wants to conquer everything with magic and superior skill. Chan added that one day a man appeared and saved them all. 10 of them left their homelands and ended up here. Karina clarified who exactly is a member of this organization. Immediately, Chan began to cry blood, and it was as if demons began to emerge from her. She tried to break her neck. It was important for Kiritu to know where they all came from. The girl whispered that they were born in the underworld. After these words, she died. Karina didn't expect that any restrictions would be placed on her body. Kirit couldn't believe that these people actually came from the underworld. Perhaps it was a kind of metaphor. Suddenly, Karina noticed danger. Above them, a crack in the sphere appeared. A dangerous overlord has appeared in the location. Once the heroes get out of here, he won't be a threat to them. But suddenly everyone noticed that the gates were closing. Karina and Kirit need to fix this urgently. Then Karina took out the mother of all bombs to escape. There was a powerful explosion, and the gate opened. The heroes need to leave this area as quickly as possible, and the monster will definitely not be able to keep up with them. A second later, Karina and Kirit were safe. The girl suggested returning to America. However, Kirit did not want to rush so quickly. He knew that this matter was not yet over. It was important for him to know the details about the masquerade. Suddenly he noticed that Karina's explosion had opened the hiding place. Most likely this was a hiding place of the Dallin Company. Everything from deals with other companies to the results of experiments on people is collected here. Besides this, there are all the channels for money laundering. The heroes were very lucky to find this cache. With evidence like this, the Dallin Company will be finished. Kirit finished important business and decided to go back. He was stopped by little Chan, who was grateful to him for saving him. Both Chen and Chun promised to be indebted to him for the rest of their lives. Kirit announced that Chen would definitely pay him back. He decided that this girl would become a member of his guild. She really didn't want this because she had to take care of her brother. Kirit showed her the pills and told her to join the guild. Chen is no longer dependent on Hualin, and is therefore a free hunter. She was afraid that China would not allow her to join the Japanese guild. If Chen joins the guild, the team will already have 2 rankers. In this case, the state will not dare to contact the Kirit team. And in general, at this time, China will be covering up its tracks of cooperation with Dallin. In turn, Kirit promises to protect Chun and give him a lot of pills. Chen nevertheless agreed to make this deal. Thus, Ranker Chen became a member of the Kirita Guild. That same evening, a military helicopter was flying over the Pacific Ocean. The pilot discovered an unidentified island. He flew closer to measure the magical power. The readings were off the charts, and it was clear that this was a dungeon. In the morning, all hunters from all over the world were called together. Before this, Kirit trained his subordinates and taught them to work as a team. Tamura announced that it was time to go on an emergency call. This is a great opportunity for new guild members to show their strength. Only 2 guilds will take part in the operation. A meeting of the guild leaders must be held at which the final decision is made. Kirit decided to attend this meeting. He decided that Chen would go to this meeting with him. Tamura couldn't believe his eyes that this girl had become a member of this guild. Kirit announced to everyone that from that day on, Chen was the deputy head of the guild. Meanwhile, Masquerade announced that Tiger was dead. Their team has already lost its 3rd member. First of all, they need to find someone to replace Dallin's boss. The deputy has already found a suitable candidate. It will be the bear. The bear asked not to monitor his actions unnecessarily. He believed that he would cope with all the responsibilities of a leader perfectly. No one present believed that he would be able to continue what he had started. The bear was rude to one of the leaders and immediately received a blow from the hawk. The man behind the white mask stopped this madness. He asked them to remain calm, since they had already lost 3 members. They don't need conflicts within the organization now. At all costs, they need to continue its development. The bear promised that later everyone would see what he was capable of. The man with the white mask